We'll be live!
Hello!
Hi, I missed this. We have only now. I only see Susie on stream once a week now, so I look forward to it so much because we're
Same.
doing the Q&A with. Oh, are you watching the Q&As I'm doing with Secular Rarity?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Do you like? Oh, what was that?
I like them, but I'm like, I kind of realized why I'm useful in a lot of these settings because sometimes you need someone to be like, Armin,
Stop.
stop talking. Because you are going off the deep end, bro.
What did I say this time? What did I do?
This time it wasn't as bad as last week.
Okay. Well, I mean, Secular Rarity has his own way of telling me to shut up. He's like, because he wants to be nice about it, he would say, if Susanna was here, that's what he does. It's like, if Susanna was here, it's not me. I'm not saying it, but if Susanna was here.
So diplomatic.
Yeah. All right, guys, in the live chat, hi, everybody. We are going to be covering 10 news items on usually around religion, sometimes politics, sometimes culture, but it usually has something to do with religion. Every week we cover 10 news items. Susanna picks them. Susanna and her team researched it. And by the way, one of the people who are helping Susanna with this is in the live chat. D is one of our writers. Some of our writers we can't talk about, but D we can. So there's a lot of work that goes into making sure what we're covering is correct, because there's a lot of bias in reporting these news, especially the ones that come out of, I don't know, Iran, India, Pakistan. So many people have different narratives, and Susanna puts a lot of time trying to make sure that she looks into all sides and gets as accurate as a picture as we can get out of it with the information that she has. So thank you, Susanna, for doing all of that. And I think doing all the work Susanna does every week deserves at least a like if you're watching right now. So make sure you like the video. Like, come on, like, she puts hours on this, and a like costs about half a second. And I think we deserve that. So please like the video before we get started. Susanna, today's news, is it like sad? Is it absurd? Is it like funny? What is
We're
it?
starting out with obviously a very serious news, but a very extremely important story to cover. And then the rest of our news are not nearly that bad. Some are just funny. Some are very consequential, but not like violent or anything. So yeah, I think we'll have a really good show today. I think it's a better, more lighthearted than last week.
Yeah. We have somebody telling us to give our life to Christ. Okay. On Facebook. All right, cool. So the first news I know is obviously Iran. And if people don't know what's happening in Iran, I mean, where have you been? But anyways, we're not just gonna cover what's happening. We're gonna also look at the latest updates, and I also want to show you some videos, and some images. But other than Iran, we're covering what? UK.
We're covering India, the UK, and basically the subcontinent coming to the UK.
Yeah.
What else do we have here? Some stories from the US. Very interesting story about a hijab ban in Denmark, Morocco, and also a major update on our legal battle in the Delhi High Court. So it's important to talk about that.
Okay. All right. So let me actually start sharing my screen and everything before I ask you if we can clap for the first news. Well, can we clap for the first news?
I mean, I don't think so. You know what it is.
I know, but people are coming out in the streets and asking for the rights. Okay, fine, we won't clap. All right, first news.
First news, 22-year-old beaten to death for improper hijab sparks eruption in Iran. On September 13th, Mahsa Jina Amini, a 22-year-old Iranian woman, was arrested for alleged improper hijab by the morality police, a branch of Iran's law enforcement that patrols the streets enforcing the country's compulsory hijab laws. 2 hours after her arrest, Mahsa was rushed to the hospital, where she fell into a coma and eventually passed away on September 16th. Protests and civil disobedience against the compulsory wearing of the hijab were already taking place since Ibrahim Raisi, Iran's president, mandated much harsher enforcement of the Islamic dress code starting last July. As news of Mosque's death spread across the country, violent protests broke out across Iran, reportedly throughout over 80 cities. At least 31 civilian deaths at the hands of Iran's special forces and local police have already been reported. The unprecedented protests are led by women, with large crowds cheering them on as protesters remove their hijabs and throw them into a fire while dancing, while others cut their hair in mourning in solidarity. The situation in Iran is rapidly developing, establishing a new radical norm across different sectors of society, and has garnered global attention and resulted in protests in support of the Iranian people worldwide. So, obviously, last week we touched on this because Gina Massa had just recently passed away and the protests were starting to really kick off. Now, it's been the 9th day, I believe, of consecutive large-scale protests across the country, and so much has changed already. It's been absolutely crazy. And I think what's most important to highlight from the beginning is that Iran is facing massive internet shutdowns across the country. So this means restrictions on Instagram, which is basically one of the only social media platforms that really functions within the country. So it's a major source of news, not controlled by the state for most Iranians. That's been shut down. WhatsApp has been shut down. I've been receiving some reports that Telegram has been shut down. And the internet shutdown is very significant because there's an organization, I believe their name is NetBlocks, and they monitor internet restrictions. And they reported that the internet restrictions that they are seeing in Iran right now this level of restriction has not been seen since November of 2019, which is when roughly 1,500 civilians were shot dead in the streets before protesting a cost of living crisis, basically. And so the fact that the internet shutdown is happening now is extremely alarming to people because they know when the internet gets shut down, it means it's because the government is trying to kill people without anyone seeing. So what I want to say right off the bat is it's super important that everyone talks about this issue, posts about this issue. I want all people, whether you are Iranian or not, to be posting and talking about this issue, the protests happening in your own local languages, in languages that the most amount of people in your community can understand, because the word needs to spread and we need to have as many eyes on the situation in Iran as possible. I believe it's a moral imperative because the regime responds to external pressure, and the regime is depending on us being divided by language, being divided by borders, being divided by race and ethnicity, and using those as excuses to say, it doesn't affect me. I don't need to talk about this. They rely on people having those apathetic attitudes to be able to continue killing their civilians for demanding a just and prosperous, free society. And so it's upon all of us to raise our voice for the people in Iran who are being silenced, sometimes at the point of a gun. And so I really implore everyone watching today to simply make a post somewhere just talking about what happened to Masa and why the people of Iran are rising up. And what's significant about them, the uprising, this is no longer just protesting. This is an uprising happening in Iran. What is so significant is it is not simply about a demand to end compulsory hijab or a demand to end the moral police, right? The demands are an end to the Islamic Republic, an end to the heart of this regime. And so it started as, just a horrific outrage to this brutal death of this young girl who was simply showing a bit of her hair outside of the hijab that she was already wearing. Allegedly, she was doing it wrong. Apparently, this was cause enough for her to be, brutalized. But now it's about so much more than that. It's about a full-scale rejection of the authority of this government. Sorry, Armin, I just went off on a rant.
No, actually, that last point that you brought is actually very important, because a lot of non-Iranians are sharing the story as if this is about the hijab. Okay, the hijab this is not just about hijab. This is about so much more than the hijab. The hijab is the signature of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the presence of hijab is basically it's a show of its authority and its legitimacy. Okay, I made a video about this on Secular Jihadists if you want to go. So to oppose the hijab is not to oppose just the hijab. To oppose the hijab is to oppose the Islamic Republic of Iran and everything that it stands for. So the women in Iran have turned taking off the hijab as a symbol of standing up against the regime. So you have to understand, like, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, hijab bad. I mean, hijab is bad, and mandatory hijab is even worse. But this is not just about that. This is an excuse to show your opposition to the regime as a whole, to its existence. And you could see that from the chants. The people in the chants are not saying, like, we want voluntary hijab or no to the hijab. They're saying no to the regime. They're saying down, I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, but something to the dictator, right? They're saying, every and all chants, or the majority of the chants, are targeting the remove. And they're also saying, they're making it very clear that nothing would satisfy them, right? So if these people who are in the streets are not the kind of people that will be satisfied if the hijab all of a sudden becomes voluntary. That's not the point here. The point is that this is a flag. The hijab is the regime's flag, and you're opposing the regime, so you oppose its flag, right? Do you want me to add anything, or should I show you some videos? Because there are so many videos I want to quickly go over.
One thing I want to add is that it's really important, because I have seen, like, Western news agencies or YouTube channels talking about Mahsa's death and saying that she died of a heart attack. I want to be clear that saying she died of a heart attack is the regime's narrative. Okay. There have been CT scans that were apparently taken from her that have been leaked that show blunt force trauma to her skull. Okay, there is a wealth of evidence that she died as a result of blows to her head. So saying that she died of, like, the regime's excuses are contradicting each other. Sometimes they say, like, oh, she had a history of epilepsy. She had a history of heart failure or, heart issues, all this stuff. The family has taken great risks upon themselves to categorically deny these claims of the regime and say she had no history of these medical problems. Okay, so don't let people, like, come to you with these excuses. The family are basically they're under pressure for basically forced confessions. The regime is pressuring this family to come forward and say, oh yeah, she had these pre-existing health conditions, all this stuff. And despite this pressure, they are maintaining their stance. They're standing strong. So we need to be clear about, based on the knowledge that is available to us now, what was the real cause of her death, and not play into the hands of people that want to excuse what happened to Mahsa, also known as Jina. I think an important aspect of this is also that she was a Kurdish woman. And so a lot of people will refer to her by her Kurdish name, Jina, instead of Mahsa, because apparently Kurdish names are banned in Iran. Is that true?
I don't know. Is it? That's weird.
That's what because I follow a lot of Kurdish pages. They're saying
let's check
her
this
name Mahsa is only like her.
Let's double check this before we talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think that's okay. So I really want to show some videos right now. Okay, because these are. I did this on the. Oh, by the way, I did this on Apostate Prophet's channel. Go watch that. By the way, thank you so much again to Apostate Prophet for covering this. Really, like, he has been taking a break from YouTube, but he came back for this because he thought it's very important, right?
It's so important. Thank you, AP.
So thank you so much.
It really means a lot for him to lend a platform as large as his to sharing the voices of what's happening.
All right. So because we have we need have other news, I'm just gonna go like I have a lot of videos. I'm just gonna go through it fast. This is the most beautiful one, so I wanted to show you first. This is the best video I've ever seen come out of Iran. So this is an example of a hijab burning. Let me know if you have audio. All right, now I'm just going to go through these quick, and if any explanation is needed, I'm just going to give the explanation, right? But that one was self-explanatory. Here's a beautiful picture from the protest.
Please describe this for people who are only listening on audio.
Oh, so yeah, right. The first one was a girl spinning and dancing before she burned her hijab, and this is another girl standing defiant without her hijab on top of a toppled garbage can and some on flames. Apparently, Jesus Christ, and it just looks so badass, guys. If you're listening to this on our podcast, you have to come on our YouTube channel and watch these images and videos. Okay, this is to show that it's not just the young ladies taking off their hijab. This older woman, she's taking.
I think she's from Rasht too. It's so cute.
Yeah, and she's saying death to Khamenei while she's doing it. Okay, so I don't know. I'm just gonna say these things. All right, and there's that.
I like her little old woman voice. Nakbar Khamenei.
All right, this is to show how.
I don't know if we can show this.
We can.
Are you sure? This is very violent.
I think we can show this.
Okay.
I've seen this.
Okay, guys, just heads up. This is pretty brutal, and this is something like this is possibly what happened to Masa.
Yeah, so this is recent. This is just what's happening in the protests right now in the streets. Well, so you can see these are girls that have taken their hijab off, and I have so many videos of the brutality in which the police treat women, but this is just the most recent one, just so you understand what could have potentially happened to Masa, right? So you can see that this is a girl without a hijab, and you can see this is one of those people who are bothering her with. Oh no, that's not her. These are the officers.
So there's one girl that's trying to interfere with the special forces messing with another girl, and then the girl who's trying to interfere, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So I think they're trying to arrest this girl, and she's trying to stop them from arresting it.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck!
Okay, so if you notice, this officer just decided to just grab her and pull her to the ground, and her head just hits the curve. So just one more time.
It smashes the curb. The back of her skull bounces off of the curb.
Okay. So there's that. Here's
it's
some
so
more.
Ridiculous because this is all because they're protesting against what happened to Masa, right? So it's to prove that we didn't enact this violence upon Masa, upon Gina, we're going to brutalize you.
Yeah. They're well, we wouldn't do such a thing. We wouldn't do such a thing. We have, you do. And here's actually some more videos of the way they treat women for bad hijab. These are for loose hijab, right?
Akone!
You saw her head just hit the van as well. So this is another example of her head. Yeah. Anyway, so these are examples. When they say like, "Oh no, we didn't do anything to Massa," they have a major
history of this.
History of doing that, right? Here's a video to show how brave the Iranian people are being. So, like when I started watching this video, I didn't at all think it would end the way it did. So look at how it starts. These are the officials, the agents with their anti-raid gear and cars and everything to come suppress the people. And look how this video ends. Can you explain to people who might be just listening?
So here we see on one side of the street a bunch of special forces in their big van, like an armored vehicle, and they have weapons, and they're like kind of trying to make their way towards a group of people who are blocking and occupying the street. And then you see all the people who are occupying the street kind of at first they kind of look like they're going to break apart. And then instead they keep on growing more and more and coming together tighter and tighter. And then they start throwing something at the special forces. I can't tell what it is. It seems like poles or like what I don't know what those white things are. But they're throwing something at the special forces to try to get them to go backwards. And what they're chanting as they're doing it is Bisharaf, which basically means like honorless or like disgraceful, without honor. So they're like, yeah. And suddenly they coalesce together super tightly and then they move forward. And then all the special forces, including their armored vehicle itself, actually get pushed backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, that was so beautiful to watch the people to overcome the government agents. All right, there's another video I want to show you. I didn't show this on the Apostle Prophets video. So they were asking, this actually clarifies what this is about, because a lot of people think that this is just about hijab, right? And they ask people why are you protesting? Why are you in the streets and stuff? And a lot of people answered different reasons. Some people were talking about freedom. So some people were talking about economic hardship. So there were so many different answers, right? So just to capture one of the answers, like this, look at this tweet got 44,000 likes. 44,000 likes. So it shows like it resonated with a lot of people. So this one tweet said, "I'm doing this for Osman." This boy's name is Osman, who doesn't know how to eat a banana, right? So this is kind of touching upon the poverty that exists in Iran, showing like a little boy that has never even seen what a banana is and how to even eat a banana, right? So just let me show you this.
پاره کن عثمان پاره کن بخور نه عثمان این نیست بخور اینو نخوری این پوسته خب.
So for people who didn't see, he was trying to eat. He thought the edible part is the skin. He was trying to eat the skin, and he was like, no, not that part. That's the skin. This is the part. Like, don't eat the skin. Eat this part, right? So they just wanted. So this person's answer is like, I'm doing this for Usman. Yeah. So let me just go show some more videos. Oh, Susie, you okay? All right. I'm just gonna show more videos. So this is a badass girl on top of a car. Just to be clear, that women are leading this protest. We just got a super chat. I'm going to star it and I'm going to read it at the end. Thank you so much for the super chat. But I just want to clarify. I'm also highlighted a whole bunch of other comments that I'm going to read at the end. But I just want to say that, I know this might sound like I'm just like being, oh yeah, woman, white knighting. But this is objectively a woman's revolution. Like, women are leading the way. And the reason, the two main reasons is, one, the women have paid a much heavier cost for this regime than other people. So, and the regime technically came into power originally as a movement against the Shah because women were being given too much rights. So originally the mullahs, when they organized against the Shah, because the mullahs used to be with the Shah, like the mullahs and the monarchy used to work with each other. The thing that turned them against each other was when the monarchy tried to give more rights to women. That was the big, before even the revolution of the Islamic Revolution in 1979, that's when they started going different ways. So the fact that women are now at the front of taking this regime down is very poetic because this is how it all started, right? So that's one reason why the women are leading this. And also the second reason is what I mentioned at the beginning, right? The main, this regime has three principles, right? Anti-United States, anti-US, anti-Israel, pro-hijab, right? The weakest one is pro-hijab. Like, if you manage to take that pillar out, the rest of the regime is going to be so fragile. This is a very important pillar of the Islamic Republic of Islam. So that's why women have the weapon of taking this regime down, because they are the ones who are wearing the hijab. So just like the hijab has become a weapon for the regime to exert its influence and show its legitimacy and control, the women have turned taking off the hijab as a way to take down this regime and show a defiance against its control. And that's why the women hold the key. The women in Iran hold the key to take this regime down. And that's why you see that they're at the front line of this protest and the ones that are the bravest ones. But I have more. So there's that. And like talking about women, look at this video. This I've never seen. This is like look at how badass this is. All right, let me explain. So what you're looking at is a row of officers and one woman. A row of officers and one woman standing in front of them holding a sign. Just one of them, right? And I just want you to imagine how brave this is. Given that what these officers are capable of and all the things we have seen they do and how many women and other people have died at their hands, the fact that she's standing there with no support, just standing in front of their motorcycles, is just like a level of bravery that I don't even understand. But hold on. Yeah, so one of the officers came and just pushed her away, and the people who were recording it got really offended by him doing that. By the way, right now, as we're speaking, I am getting messages from Iran about things that we're going to be covering on the Iranian show. So if you know anybody who speaks Farsi, on the Persian show, we're going to be covering a lot of different things. We're talking strategy on how people protect themselves. We're talking first aid. We're talking about how to communicate with each other in the streets. So we're actually translate. Susanna has gave us a lot of resources for us to translate on how to protest, how to proper helmets, proper headgear, how to protect your eyes, what to do with tear gases. There's so many different
strategies. How to establish
strategies.
roles within direct actions, how to strategize.
Yeah, none of these exist in Persian, but there's some really good documentation on these in English. And there are people right now. By the way, I don't know if I told you this, Susanna. The documents that you sent me, there are people right now in Iran translating those to Persian. So, and we're going to be spreading those
Wonderful.
around. Yeah, so once those are ready, we're going to be
We need to
spreading
host
them
those
around.
somewhere so they can be more accessible to other people as well.
Yeah, we're going to do that. All right, so here's more hijab burning. I'm going to turn off the music because it might be copyrighted. Look. They're doing the spin and then put it in the fire. This is becoming a norm now, like doing the spin, the dance before you burn your hijab. I don't. That girl like started a new trend apparently. It's just so beautiful as well to watch. But here's just a picture of another brave woman on top of a car, putting her hijab on a stick and burning it. And here's another hijab burning.
They're saying, we don't want.
So that was a lot of women burning their hijab in the fire in the middle of the street. Oh, here's how brave Iranian people are becoming. Look at this, right? So this is. I have to turn the music on this off. This is an officer attacking people with a taser. So he's coming in the middle of the people. He has a taser on. He has a taser. Like, come get me. And then the people, instead of people running away, they're coming at him. Right? Look at this.
Well, and then he starts indiscriminately firing at people after this.
Yeah, I can't show that part. Because when people run away, so after this scene, when they run away, he takes out his. I can't show this on YouTube, but here he takes out his gun and he starts shooting at people. Right. And then let me just see. There's more people. These are people attacking police cars. And here they burned a sign with Khamenei's picture on it.
Yavaş.
And here, let me show you a video of some girls on top of some police cars that are burnt. Okay, so here. So there's one girl that is recording, and she's telling the other girl on top of the police car, saying, my sister, tell them, say it. And the girl on top of the police car says, Islamic Republic, we don't want, Islamic Republic, we don't want. So that's what she's shouting. Look at these girls, man. Jesus. Okay, and let me.
I had one video that I wanted to show that I thought was really important.
Yeah. The one that you had, you sent me?
No. So in the show notes, I have a few, but I think the first one is most important.
Okay, this image has become very iconic. Look at this. There's a girl without a hijab with her fist up in the air, and at the end you can see a whole bunch of officers on their motorcycle. Like she's just looking at them and raising her fist. This has become such an iconic image right now from the recent protests, right? And this is just beautiful. I don't even know what to say, but yeah. So there's that one was very iconic. This has become very iconic. And also this one with like the girls taking off their hijab, this one with the girls taking off their hijab, this one from the street. Look at her with her gray hair a little bit, looking at like look at these people. Oh my god, these people, I wish I was there. And oh my god, I can't show this one. Yeah, I showed you this one. This has become iconic as well. This one, like, look at her. She's the one without hijab. She's like in the middle of all these like very
A sea
religious,
of fedoris.
yeah, in the middle of the
Their
religious one.
super long hair.
Because it used to be like you get intimidated by these religious girls because these are the ones that would come and tell you to be like, you would run away. You would like when
Or
I was
even
in
turn
Iran.
you into the authorities.
Yeah, like this is like a pro-regime protest and stuff, right? And instead of like people shying away, she like takes off her hijab, shows all her hair, and she goes right in the middle of them. Like this is, I don't know, so badass. So do you want me to, with regards to the video that you wanted to show, you wanted me to share it, or did you want to share it?
I think it'd be better if you share it because you like to be in control of the screen.
No. Okay, let me close all of this stuff. So this one, right?
Yeah, so I thought this was really important to highlight. So this has captions on the bottom, and so either you and I can read the captions, but this is something you talked about on Apostate Prophets show, and something I think it's really, really important for us to highlight is how these sentiments have gone far outside of just the lower class because of the cost of living crisis. This has gone outside of the middle class because of their maybe desire for liberalism. This has also, these sentiments are also reflected amongst highly religious segments of society. And I think it's important to talk about this because this can be a major source of unity, rather disunity. And so it also goes to show that we can't necessarily judge a book by its cover, right? So this woman on the right, wait, can you go to the caption of the post, because I can't remember her name, but it's important. Let me say, scroll down. Shoot, no, down closer to the bottom. Okay, What is her name? No, go down to the very bottom. I think he made it a hashtag.
It's okay. Let me just play the video. You want to?
By the way, shouts out to Bahadur for translating this. He's a great YouTuber, so go check him out if you're interested in linguistics, and big supporter of Atheist Republic, by the way. So that's awesome. Thank you, Asos. It's Fatima
Saperi. Fatima Saperi. Okay. In English, it would be Fatima Saperi. She is like, there's two hijabi women who are very much seem to be anti-regime. One of them seemingly, one of them really, like with Chador. So Fatima Saperi is very aggressively anti-regime, right? We have also a Faiza Hashemi, which is the daughter of Rafsanjani Hashemi. She's also says some anti-regime narratives, but at the end of the day, she comes and defends the regime. Like, she just criticizes them. So a lot of people don't like her because even though she criticizes the regime, she still supports the survival of the regime, right? But this lady, Fatima Sapri, she's like aggressively against the existence of the regime. So people like this, like they're like, some of these other reformists who are just criticizing the regime, a lot of Iranian people hate them because they just think like, you're just giving people hope. The only way forward is to get rid of the regime. So if you're going to come criticize the regime, but at the end of the day say like, if we reform it, we could still have it, you're not with us. You're actually part of the problem. We will never trust the reformers anyways. So this Chadari woman, this conservative religious woman, she is, by the way, these are people who are inside Iran. So not only they're anti-regime, they are like they're saying it while they're living there. Like they are risking everything. So a lot of people have a lot of respect for this, but a lot of Iranians who are anti-regime are also anti-Islam, right? But some Iranians who are anti-Islam, they're saying like we have to be tolerant of religious Muslims who are anti-regime right now, right? Because right now we need unity. There's a little bit of division between anti-regime people who are anti-Islamic. They're like, no, Islam is the reason why we have suffered from all of these people. Like the regime has used Islam was a weapon of against us. It was a tool of oppression. So we can't have unity with people who are Muslim or who are at least very religious. And some people are saying, no, anybody who's anti-regime, whether they're anti-Islam or just like somewhat Muslim or very religiously Muslim, right now it's not the time to have any division between us. We have to unite. Anybody who is anti-regime should unite with that's enough for us to unite. And a woman like her who is he has very conservative religious clothing, hijab, called the chador. This is an example of people like, see, this is a woman that we should accept on our side, like no matter whether she's religious or not, right? So this is, and I think more people have now accepted this. I remember a couple of years ago, among the opposition against the regime, there was less agreement about this, right? A lot of anti-regime people, anybody who was religious, they would not accept them, right? Now, more religious people are becoming anti-regime, and among the anti-regime people, there has been a little bit more tolerance, not a little bit, a lot more tolerance. Are like, okay, fine, we'll accept you as our, brothers and sisters in arms against the regime, even though you're religious, right? So, do you want me to play this video now?
Yeah, and I think this is important to highlight because, like, I saw a lot of clips of her on. We don't have sound. There was a lot of clips of her on Iran International, and without subtitles, because I couldn't get subtitles, like I just assumed that she was there to be basically, on a panel. They usually have people of opposing opinions, and I assumed that she was the person who was there to give the pro-regime narrative. And then when I actually saw what she was saying translated, I was like shocked, and I was reminded, you really can't assume these things about people. She has some of the most powerful things to say against the regime that I've heard. So I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight that.
Yeah.
So
play it.
Yeah.
میگم به تمام ملت ایران که الان 42
Wait, should I read it?
Yeah, so
wait, why doesn't it go back here? First of all, it says, first of all, I offer my condolences to all Iranians.
تسلیت میگم به تمام ملت ایران که الان 42
For 44 years, we keep consoling each other.
4 ساله که هم دائم گفتیم تسلیت الان
Now they killed Mahsa. Not long ago, they killed
مهسا رو کشتن. چند سال پیش
Zahra Kazemi under the same conditions.
خانم
Zahra Kazemi was an Iranian Canadian, like me. She was killed in Iran.
زهرا کاظمی رو با همین شرایط کشتن. سالهاست که دیگه
For years, we have been saying
باید برود.
The Islamic Republic must be gone, right? So this is the position people want. Nothing short of this is acceptable right now, right? So other people like Father Hashemi who come and say like, oh, the regime is bad because of this and this and this, and we have to improve it, we have to fix it. None of that is acceptable. The Iranian people who are against the regime, they say like, the only way we accept you is for you to say that the Islamic Republic has to go. No improvements are acceptable. It must go.
باید برود جمهوری اسلامی. روزی که
When George Floyd was killed, Khamenei
رو کشتن، خامنه‌ای اومد و
Khamenei came out right away expressing feelings of
بسیار اظهار تأسف و
feeling of utmost sorrow and strong condemnation.
ناراحتی کرد و محکوم کرد. و امروز میگن
On that day, his tongue was longer than his turban.
و اون روز
I love that. That's such a good saying.
Yeah.
Like he's lying through his teeth.
Yeah. His tongue was longer than his turban. Like when it comes to George Floyd, he was just speaking like, "Oh, this is so sad. This is like an outrage."
دراستر بود. به خاطر کشتن جورج فلوید.
Because George Floyd was killed.
ولی مهسای امینی
But nothing with Mahsa Amini traveled from
از سقز بلند شد آمد تهران
traveled from Saqqez to Tehran to have fun, not to be beaten.
تفریح کنه، هوا بخوره، نه با اتم جمهوری
Beaten by Khamenei and the Islamic Republic's batons.
اسلامی و با اتم‌های سید علی خامنه ای رو. هر نیرویی که
Anyone still working with the regime who has a tiny
با اینها همکاری میکنه اگر ذره‌ای وجدان داره،
a tiny bit of honor and conscience and cares a little bit,
اگر ذره‌ای شرف داره، اگر ذره‌ای به ایران
a little bit of honor and conscience, yeah, and cares a little bit
دل میبنده، باید
about Iran must turn against the Islamic Republic.
از جمهوری اسلامی جدا بشن، از بدنه جمهوری اسلامی جدا بشن.
The regime are murderers destroying Iran.
اینها قاتلن، اینا میخوان ایران رو ویران کنن، مردم رو، همه مردم مصیبت زده شدن و
People are fed up and oppressed.
هستن و دارن مصیبت زده میشن. امیدوارم
I hope very soon we'll stand hand in hand
که هرچی سریعتر با این همه جنایت جمهوری اسلامی همه دست به دست هم بدیم
and get rid of the Islamic Republic.
که جمهوری اسلامی بره هر کجا
Everywhere we step foot, we see the regime's crimes.
پا میذاریم فساد، جنایت. ملت ایران
Iranians, wake up.
بیدار شین. نونمون رو بردن،
They took away our bread, our honor, our country.
ناموسمون رو بردن، وطنمون رو بردن، اعتبارمون رو بردن، امنیتمون
Our credibility, our safety, took the lives of our loved ones.
رو بردن، جان عزیزانمون رو گرفتن. الان ما برای چی واسطادیم؟
What else are we still waiting for?
منتظر چی هستیم؟ چی میخواد دیگه اتفاق بیفته که نیفتاده؟ الان دیگه اون خانواده
By killing Mahsa, they've taken the Amini family's life.
امینی دیگه تمام اونا رو کشتن. نوید افکاری رو
They killed Naveed Afghari, Sahtar Beheshti,
بگیم، ستار بهشتی رو بگیم، ریحان جباری رو بگیم،
Rayhan Jabari. These are some of the recent victims of the regime.
کیو بگیم دیگه؟ چی مونده؟ جنایت های
This regime hasn't just committed a few
اینا
crimes.
یکی دوتا نبوده. داریم خفه میشیم
We're suffocating from their constant crimes.
از این همه جنایت. ما امید
There is no hope in the regime's reform. See, this is what I'm talking about. There is no hope in the regime's reformists. There is like very, very little tolerance for any talk of reform right now in Iran. The reformists in Iran have had the lowest amount of popularity for the past for forever. Like throughout the history of this regime, the reformists were at the beginning some of the hope of the people who wanted to see some improvement in their lives. Right now, their support for them has to drop to historic lows. The tolerance for reform has gone. People were like, I topple the regime. They want the death of Khamenei. Masih Ali-Najad actually came out for the first time on Iran International saying that he wants what happened to Gaddafi to happen to what happened to Soleimani to happen to Khamenei. Like actually, like Masih Ali-Najad usually doesn't say something like that, but they want him dead.
He said that on Fox News. I was like,
Yeah.
damn,
yeah, that was crazy.
نه به اصلاح طلب داریم، نه به اصولگرا داریم،
Like there is no hope for the regime's reformists or the hardliners.
نه به اون طویله
Conservatives, the barn called parliament or clerics,
مجلس داریم، نه به علما داریم، نه به هیچ کدوم اینها نداریم. اینا
they must all get lost.
باید همه برن گم شن.
Yeah, that was The Persian version of this was a lot more aggressive than Gomsha. Yeah. So
and since she gave that interview, she's been arrested and people don't know her whereabouts.
Really?
Yeah,
okay,
that's another reason why I wanted to highlight this, because the crackdown against people speaking out, especially public figures, football players, celebrities, is really, really harsh. Asos is saying she made this speech while her brother Mohammed Hussein Sapari was kept in prison just for signing a letter against the leader himself, and she was told in case of recording new videos against the leader that she would get the same destiny and end up in prison.
She's in jail. Qasim is also saying she's in jail now.
Yeah, but people, what I've heard is that people don't really know what her whereabouts are.
I don't know if people understand. I don't know if people understand this image of, for a lot of us, these are new images, right? Of Iranians that look like that. We grew up as children, people who looked like that, we understood that they're for regime. People who look like my mom, for example, they were dressed or like this, we understood that they're genuinely not happy with the regime, right? For people, after so many years, there is very little support for the regime. We're saying so many religious people. We have people, Susanna, I don't know if you know, like the people in the recent protests, right? The people who are in jail, like so many people have been arrested right now. There are more than 30 confirmed protesters dead, right? But it's probably
Likely
a lot
much
more than
more.
that. Likely much more. These are 35 or something that we have their names, right? But the number of arrests is a lot more. And the age of the arrest goes at lower than 15 and above 60-year-old, right? So we could see like demographically is young to very old, right? And we have among the people who have been arrested, a lot of them are chadori women, so women who have religious outfits, so people who are very religious, and even mullahs, people with like people with rohani or like very religious outfits. So that's the range of. So the reason why these protests are different from protests that we have seen before in Iran is the range of people who are coming out against the regime, right? So religious people and non-religious people seem to be united, right? People who used to be pro-regime seem to are switching sides faster than ever before, right? Age-wise, ethnic-wise, geography-wise, the range is all over. So it's previous protests, it was like these demographics, that demographics, these ideologies. Like now it's a cross ideology, and every protest seems to be more widespread than the one before. And it's just hard to see how this could continue growing and for this regime to survive. I'm not saying the regime is going to topple or not, okay? I'm just saying it's very hard to imagine if we keep going in this direction and more people leave the regime side and join the people. It's just really hard to imagine how this is sustainable for the regime, right? I just don't want to make any false promises, but I'm just saying it's hard for me to imagine. Yeah. Do you want to read some comments?
Yeah, so we kind of addressed a few of them already. So, well, first thing we should do is address the super chats that we got. Secular Proton gave us 5 CHF. I don't know what currency that is. And said, "Hi, is there any chance the police/law enforcement officers will turn against the regime? How come they are so loyal that they are willing to kill?" First of all, thank you for your super chat. Thank you for supporting Atheist Republic.
Yes. So the law enforcement, we have different law enforcement in Iran, right? But they usually are recruited from a sect of society that have been under heavy amount of brainwashing, right? These are people, a lot of them are people who might even give their lives to the regime, right? However, we are slowly seeing some people from that sect changing side, right? That would be the last sect, but the goal is to eventually reach that part of the society. Also, you have to. The economic hardship is also very high, and this is like it's hard to come up with paying job these days. Susanna, there's a lot of cat noises in the background, so if you're not speaking,
Xerxes.
Yeah. Can you mute yourself? Yeah. Okay. So it's hard to get paying jobs in Iran, and these are some of the few paying jobs that is available. A lot of these people, are in it for the money. But eventually, we might get to a point where the regime cannot pay these people as well. And if we get to a place, again, I'm not advocating for something, but if eventually we get to a place where the protesters are armed, okay, then a lot of these people, pro-regime people, will recalculate because the risk to their lives will be significantly higher than right now. And there might be a significant drop in the number of people who are willing to stand in front of armed protesters, right? So that might happen at some point in the future, okay? Again, I want to clarify, I'm not advocating for anything. I'm just saying that might happen.
A lot of it is explicitly religious, though. I saw a video of a bunch of, like, special forces dressed up looking like freaking black stormtroopers. And as they're all in this, like, huge crowd of motorcycles before they go ride off, they all start shouting, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, you know, like, and I cannot tell you the disgust and hatred in my heart in that moment. It's so disgusting. And I think to that end, it's really important to highlight this news that just came out. So I read this today on Iran Wire, and then it says, exclusive, Khamenei may order a massacre. So a former security official who still advises Iran's state security organizations has told Iran Wire in a short interview that the spread of protests across Iran has taken the regime by surprise. The former official said the IRGC chiefs are accusing the police, the army, and the Ministry of Intelligence of negligence and intend to violently end the protests on the direct order of Ali Khamenei. And this is the most important part. Well, there's two important parts. The source said that he had heard from an IRGC official that Mr. Khamenei has decreed that they should have no mercy. Khamenei said that it makes no sense for women to burn the hijab in the street. And how do you pronounce this word, Armin? Morhabe? Wait, why can't I hear you now? What just happened?
Oh, sorry. Moharabe.
Yeah, so Khamenei is saying that this is war against God. And this, under Iran's Islamic Penal Code, is punishable by death. So this is going to be basically the ideological justification for massacring people in the streets. And then basically, Iran's source also added that many former and current intelligence officials in Iran are privately critical of the authorities, especially the Ayatollah Khamenei. They believe, he said, that he has lost touch with reality and is not as pragmatic as he used to be. And yeah, basically this IRGC official has legitimate fears of another massacre.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know how accurate this is, and I'm also going to mention something else that a lot of people are reporting, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. To answer Secular Proton's question, there has been reports of a lot of the regime forces not wanting to, showing less of an appetite to carry out the orders, right? Like they're getting the commands to come down on people, and there's delays, and there are excuses, and there are just ignoring sometimes, or if they're doing it, it's not as aggressively as the command seems to be suggesting that it should be done. And it's frustrating the people at the top that are coming down with the orders, right? So I don't know how true that is, but if this is true, it might be suggesting some level of disobedience from the people who are supposed to be carrying out the oppression against the people. What is it called? Coming down hard on people, like the officials, the Basijis, the Nireh Intizami, the Sepai Pasar, and all of those people. And this might be, again, I don't know if these reports are true, but why the regime might have to eventually bring in foreigners, right? Like Hezbollah from Lebanon, or Hashd Shabi from Iraq, because there seems to be the Iranians that are being ordered to attack other Iranians, they seem to be less willing to do that, right? So we'll
all
see if
hell would break loose.
Yeah.
If they come in, like, oh my
God.
God.
Yeah, if that happens, if you bring in, like the regime might eventually bring in Iraqis, Lebanese, or Afghan foot soldiers to crush the people. And if that happens, the level of anger from the people will be so high that I don't know what the reaction to that is going to be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, we got
another super chat. What? From Shaheen. Do you know what this was referring to, Armin?
Their Kiavani standard will fly high in Iran. Derafsh Kaviani. Oh, okay. This is just poetic. It's like a flag. Yeah, this is like something poetic. I think this has something to do with Kaveh Iyengar. Do you want me? I should know these things. I don't know Iranian poetry that much, but yeah, let me just look this up. God damn it, put me on the spot. It's an eternal flag that would be raised, an eternal flag that would be raised on top of Iran or something like that. I will look it up. Okay.
Well, thank you
Oh.
for the super chat, Shaheen.
Yeah.
And Ramen gave us a €5 super sticker. Thank you, Ramen. If you
Oh, no, yeah, it's a Sassanite flag. It's the Sassanid Empire's flag. Here. Oh, wait, are you? This
Isn't
is
that a pro-monarchist thing?
It's a pro-monarchist symbol. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the monarchists yesterday, and they were flying that flag.
Okay. So this is This is the empire that was ruling over Iran before Islam, right? So before the last empire of Iran before Iran went before the Arab invasion, right? So
that makes sense.
So this guy is saying that we will raise this flag again once more. There you go.
So there was something else I wanted to say. Okay, so I also want to highlight something that's very important. There's lots of evidence, like Gossam is saying, they use ambulances for transporting victims to their bases, not hospitals. So they use ambulances to arrest people and nab them away and take them to God knows where. I've also, Armin, did you see that video that came out yesterday? And it was of this police officer who was arresting someone. And as he was pistol whipping this person who was laying down on the concrete, he pulls his gun back and just shoots him in the head in the middle of the street.
No.
Execution style.
Whoa, can you send that to me?
Yeah, I can. I can't show that on YouTube.
No.
But yeah, that happened yesterday.
There was a girl that was just shot 9 times in the face, I heard. I saw videos of her body. It's so fucking disgusting. I can't.
Yeah, I get sent those the videos of people dead in the street every single day. So to that end,
so people have to understand, like, there's a lot of things that are a lot more graphic that are happening right now in the streets that we cannot show. So, yeah. But you can imagine how horrible it is right now.
Yeah, and to that end, Sherry is saying we have to help them. Why aren't we helping them? So what we can do to help the people of Iran is, one, primarily go talk to your community about the fact that this is happening. Talk to your friends, post about it on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, whatever. Just acknowledge that this is happening and talk about, in particular, the internet restrictions and how deadly this is. Okay, because that really needs to be stressed. The internet restrictions are a huge part of this. Secondly, what we need to do is we need to go talk to our governments, pressure our governments to find ways to help grant internet access to the people of Iran. This is a huge part of this as well. Now, the U.S. Treasury gave some hints recently that they are going to be removing sanctions or removing things that might make it more difficult to give people internet access in Iran, and hinting that they're going to be doing more in the coming days. So that's a positive sign, but it's not enough, right? We also need to be going to our politicians, especially if you're in the US, especially if you are in Western Europe, and telling your politicians, stop dealing with this regime. This regime is not representative of the people. When you go speak to them and you go wear your hijab as a female Western politician, they explicitly use that image to go back and oppress and brutalize women in their country. You are not honoring anyone's effing culture when you submit to their demands that they will not meet with you. They will not be in your presence unless you comply with their freaking hijab rules. Okay, disgusting. So stop giving into that BS. Also, stop acting as if this regime is a normal state. This is an abnormal state that uses hostage and terrorist tactics from its very inception. When someone tells you who they are, freaking believe them. The nature of this state has not changed from the student hostage, the embassy hostage crisis to now. This is fundamentally the characteristic of this regime. Stop pretending otherwise. By doing so, you are enabling the murderers of Iranian civilians. Stop giving them any form of legitimacy. I am so freaking ashamed that my president, the Joe Biden administration, granted a visa to President Ibrahim Raisi, who is a mass murderer responsible for the deaths of literally thousands of people without proper due process. He was already on the sanctioned list. Not only did he get a visa, but members of the IRG themselves traveled into my country while they are currently on the terrorist list. It's absurd. It is obscene and morally disgusting that the United States and the United Nations would grant any form of legitimacy and platform to these sadistic ideologues, these fascists who care about nothing more than their ideology of death, that is obsessed with, protecting the thereafter, your afterlife, more than the prosperity, enjoyment, happiness, baseline human rights in this life, in the present life. So every time they get invited to speak in these platforms, it is lending validity to the authority of this government. It makes me so angry. Sorry.
No, that was very fair. That was very good.
So really, I really want people to just make a post either in English or your country's language, your local dialect, so that more people can understand what's happening. It's so imperative. Like, I've been to a lot of protests in the past week for Iran, and something that's hard for me personally and emotionally is when I show up, I'm one of a handful of like maximum 10 non-Iranian people who are at this protest. And when I'm there or when I make a post on Instagram, I get so many messages of people saying, thank you for talking about this. When I'm in the protest, I stick out like a sore thumb, and people say, thank you for being here. Because they feel so alone. When George Floyd was murdered in the United States, Iranians in Iran stood up and had demonstrations. When the Beirut explosion happened in Lebanon, Iranian people had demonstrations in support of the Lebanese people. When Ukraine was invaded, they had demonstrations in support of the sovereignty and freedom of Ukraine. And then this is happening now. This uprising is happening now. And who is speaking out? Who is with them? It's our time to show solidarity. Where are the feminist organizations now? I saw one feminist Instagram posting about this, and they didn't even say that she was murdered for hijab. They said, oh, because of strict enforcement of Iran's strict dress codes. It's not strict dress codes. It is obligatory Islamic dress. Stop whitewashing. It's disgusting. It is enabling this violence. It's enabling this regime to weasel their way out of all this rhetoric. You have to be 100% clear about what is happening here. This is Islamic fascism. And so are we going to stand up and say something about this? It makes me so emotional that people tell me thank you when all I'm doing is making a post and showing up to stand next to them. That's the baseline. That's nothing. I don't feel like I should be thanked for that. But they feel so alone. They feel so ignored that this is all they can expect. That's shameful. I don't know. I really deeply hope that this compels more people to just say something, to make a post, talk to people about it. Because, like I said earlier, the regime is depending upon us being divided by language and borders and race. They're depending upon it. We need to reject that full scale. It's imperative.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. I don't know what to add to that. Except these idiots in the live chat who tell you to calm down. Look at this fucking moron. Look at this. Like, calm down, Susanna. Yeah, people are just being killed and oppressed, and we're supposed to calm down about it.
I'm getting videos of 13-year-olds shot in the head, their blood pouring out onto the sidewalk, and you're fucking telling me to calm down? Where's your humanity? Is your heart a stone? Are you seduced by the lobbies of the regime? Come on! I expect better from you.
Calm down. Really? How? Look at this person. What a insanely stupid thing to say. Calm down. Yeah, if you can calm down in the face of other people being oppressed and killed like this, then you should like question your own humanity, Muhammad. Like, what do you mean calm down? This is a really bad advice. No, do not calm down. Horrible advice. Also, KP, I'm having an issue with you as well because you're right. But unfortunately, we can't do nothing. That's a lie. That's a lie. You could put pressure. These regimes care about their image. That's why they spend millions and millions of dollars trying to whitewash their crimes. Their image is everything to them when it comes to international politics. You can change that. You sharing these stories and talking about them, it's so easy. Other people are risking their lives to fight the regime. You could do something from the comfort of your home. You could use the hashtag. You could post about these things. You think that has no influence? We have shown time and time again that it has an influence. When more people outside of Iran are talking about these things with Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, it puts a pressure on these regimes. They have backed down before in the face of pressure. When there are more eyeballs, your more attention saves lives.
We've
your
seen it
attention
before in the past. We have precedent for this.
Again, I say it again. Your attention saves people's lives. Don't tell me you can't do anything about this. You could do something with a very low cost. There are many people out there, so in many places in the world, where they're risking everything for freedom and for liberty. They're asking you to just post things, share things. Is that too much to ask? Anyways.
Man, that video that you showed of that boy with the banana freaking broke me earlier.
Yeah. Like Bassem is mentioning that the hashtag Mahsa Amini passed 80 million on Twitter, right? That made so many news outlets talk about it. People were wondering, why is this hashtag passing 80 million on Twitter? That is the reason why, I don't know, CNN, Fox News, CNBC, all of these media outlets started talking about it because it was trending everywhere. So every person that used that hashtag had an influence, a small influence, in this being covered around the world, in embarrassing President Raisi, because President Raisi, while all of this was happening, President Raisi was representing Iran at the United Nations General Assembly, talking
and
about
lecturing the international community about the hypocrisy of differential enforcement in terms of human rights, holding up pictures of Qasem Soleimani, who's a terrorist who uses child soldiers, and saying that Trump needs to be prosecuted for his death.
Do you know how embarrassing it looked for him? It was an absolute embarrassment for him. It was a media nightmare that when he was talking about human rights, this was trending on Twitter. that the news, instead of talking about him, like, oh, it was like how the news turned on him about how big of a hypocrite this man is, that is lecturing the world about their human rights violation while not even addressing, not even one hint at what was happening in his country when people were being shot to death. When George Floyd dies, these people come and talk about it. These are Iranian officials that don't say anything when Iranians die. But they're all words and condemnation when some non-Iranian, they're supposed to represent the Iranian people, but they kill the Iranian people. Everybody, the whole world is saying what major of a hypocrite they are. And again, when citizens of United States or the UK or Germany see this and turn against the regime of Iran, it has an influence on the politicians, because the politicians now have a weapon. They see the opinions of their constituents, and they see that they have to turn against the regime. So opposing, like people like Karl Kolinsky or like these other idiot leftists who keep defending the Islamic Republic of Iran, their words become nothing, become useless, because the opinion of the people have turned against the regime. So they can't pressure the American regime or the UK regime or the German regime. It becomes more difficult to them to make concessions to such an evil regime, because the politicians can see the opinions of the people who are supposed to vote for them is against the regime. That's why it's, for example, easier right now for like American politicians to stand against China, because opinions of American people is now more anti-Chinese government. So it's easier for politicians to have more anti-China government, Chinese government rhetoric. So if the opinion of American people is negative towards the Iranian regime, it will have a similar effect. That's where you come in. That's where you signal as an American or as a UK citizen or as a German citizen or as a French citizen or any other citizen, Indian citizen, that we support the Iranian people and we're against the regime. So our politicians have to take note that this is what we want them to see. We want them to see coming out tougher against such an oppressive regime. And again, we have shown time and time and again that this works. So don't tell me again that you can't do anything. Anyways. Let me know when you're ready to move on. Is there anything else that you want to read?
I know. I'm like, I need to collect myself because we have a whole rest of the show to do. Okay.
By the way, this is the level of analysis from some people.
Yeah, the intelligence, the IQ level. Bojack,
Go on.
Iranians burn the hijab, so this is racist and offends Muslims.
Yeah. Amazing analysis, Bojack. Your comment is so idiotic that we don't even need to say anything. We could just put it on and just laugh at it. That's how insane your comment is. We just have to. Our response is just to show it to people, to show the level of analysis. That's all we have to do. That's how stupid you are. Anyways. All right.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next news that we have is a lot more lighthearted in comparison. It is definitely a little bit tense, but I think we can use this as an opportunity to dunk on right-wing extremism, which is in fundamentalism. So we always love to do that. So let's clap for the next news.
Yes. Next news.
Next news. Hindu-Muslim mob violence flares tensions in the United Kingdom. It all started on August 28th when a cricket match between India and Pakistan in the Asian Cup and the United Arab Emirates sparked numerous violent interreligious protests in the city of Leicester in the United Kingdom. It's still unclear which side started the violence. Some claim that after India won the game, supporters poured onto the street and began chanting anti-Pakistan slogans. The religious community leaders have called for an end to the protests, but the animosity between the Hindu and Muslim groups has remained and even spread to other cities. Videos of the protests went viral, in which masked men can be seen throwing bottles at the police, shouting anti-Hindu or anti-Muslim slogans, and tearing down a religious flag at a Hindu temple. A saffron Om flag, a symbol of the Hindu religion, was desecrated by an Islamic mob directly in front of the Leicester police. A Muslim community leader, Roxana Hussein, told The Guardian about a radical group that marched through East Leicester on September 17th, chanting Jai Shri Ram, a pro-Hindutva slogan. A former chairperson of a national Hindu organization, Dirishti Mai, said that the Hindus were the targets of harassment. A large number of law enforcers were dispatched to control the violence. Dozens of perpetrators have been arrested by the police, including a 20-year-old already sentenced to 10 months in prison. Reportedly, a large portion of those arrested were not even residents of Leicester, but outsiders that came to engage in group intimidation on behalf of their religious group. So, before we even get into this news, I want to make something clear. Personally, I don't know about Armin. I myself will be making no claims about who started this, who has engaged in the most violence, all etc. Because the amount of disinformation online is absolutely insane. I've done a lot of research into this topic, and there is so much that is completely contradictory. I cannot responsibly make a claim about a lot of the stuff that has happened there, because there's so much information that on both sides, about how things went, who said what, the authorities claim this, blah, blah, blah. It's almost impossible to make a clear determination of what actually happened. So what I personally find more interesting is almost taking a media analysis lens looking at this, about how different sides have reported on this kind of issue. But I know Armin has been following a lot of the story because he follows like our lovely Ali Dawa, our lovely fundamentalist Muhammad Hijab, who has actually been responsible for inciting a lot of tension and violence in the area, literally showing up to mobilize a mob in the streets. I don't know how this man still has a channel on YouTube. That itself is shameful. Okay, let's be honest. But Armin, so what is your understanding of these events?
Well, I mean, I don't think we should be trusting my understanding, because my sources have been Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa, which are not the best of sources. Okay, so these are Islamic preachers.
Well, okay, what is their narrative? Let's just look at this as a battle of narratives then.
Well, the narrative is that we're gonna come, I don't know if I could say it on YouTube. They're just trying to be macho and tough and say that we're gonna come fuck shit up. Like, and that's what this has become more competition about who's more macho and strong and can, commit the most. Like, people, like even the YouTube channel Smile to Jannah was saying that I could go to gym and get strong. Don't look, I'm skinny and all, but I could go into the gym and get stronger. That's and I got come and they're Muhammad Hijab and other people were like coming at us like, we have gangs, right? Like, they're like openly advocating for violence. Like, they're telling the Hindu side, do you know the Pakistani side in the UK? We have a whole bunch of Pakistani gangs. And like, I thought you guys said that you're not in the form of violence. You guys are not for violence.
They just went full mask off.
They went full mask off.
They're like, oh, we're just here to be peaceful and practice our faith and all this stuff. And then they're like, we have gangs. You better watch yourself. I saw Muhammad Hijab saying the most disgustingly bigoted stuff against Hindus. Like, I don't even know if I want to repeat it. So I first heard about this because I follow a lot of accounts on Instagram that are, for the protection of Hindus across the world, blah, blah, blah. A lot. I've seen them post things that are actually blatantly false before, so I didn't trust what they were posting right away. That's when I first became aware of this. Videos of people legit attacking Hindus, saying disgusting anti-Hindu things, and just running through Leicester like straight up mob control over the streets. It was crazy. So I was like, okay, we got to talk about this, but I wanted to wait for the situation to evolve a little bit for things to get a little bit more clear. Now, I don't think things actually have become that much more clear personally. But there has, I mean, it's just continued. This has been going on for weeks.
Wait, let's look at this article. Okay. Oh, wait. So this is our own Muhammad Hijab. Oh, we got another super chat. By the way, we missed a couple of super chats we didn't read earlier, but I'm going to start
No,
this
we did.
one. Oh, we did? Okay.
Yeah.
Islamist preacher accused of stirring up hatred in, how do you pronounce the city again?
Leicester.
Muhammad Hijab was also one of the leading figures during recent demonstrations in London that were condemned as anti-Semitic. Okay. An Islamic preacher who was involved in anti-Jewish demonstrations in London has been accused of stirring up hatred in Leicester, where attacks on Hindu temples and shops led to dozens of arrests. Muhammad Hijab was one of the leading figures during demonstrations in the capital that were condemned as anti-Semitic by Jewish groups. It can now be revealed that Mr. Hijab was last week also in Leicester, where anti-Hindu demonstrations turned violent and later spread to Smithwick in the west.
Who knows how to pronounce any of these UK names? It's crazy.
These people are like, they're like,
why is Leicester spelled like that but pronounced like Leicester?
They want to act like they're more intelligent because they write things in a way that only they can pronounce. They're like, look at us, we're so sophisticated. You know? that's their intention.
Have you seen the way that, like, the Thames River, the way it's spelled versus how you say it? Come on, guys, what are you doing? Anyways.
Yeah. Clashes broke out in the city on Saturday, September 17th, when a group of young Hindu men marched through Green Lane Road, where there are several Muslims-owned businesses, shouting Jai Shri Ram, a religious chant which has been co-opted by far-right Hindu nationalist groups in India. Other videos shared. Okay, so I don't want to read this entire thing. I just wanted to see what did hijab do that is... I'm going to read this. I'm going to probably make a video about this on Secular. I'm going to read this and do a video about it on Secular Jihadist. So go subscribe to Secular Jihadist. But I saw a video on Ali Davo's channel, which was very embarrassing to Muhammad. I don't know why he uploaded that. Because the Muslims there were accusing Ali Davo and Muhammad Hijab as trying to use this event to make themselves look like the leader, and they were like, get out of here, this is like, you have nothing to do here, like, this is because they went there instead of like interviewing people and being like, okay, why are you here, what are you doing, they went there like they gave the camera to someone else, and they were like, they're acting like they're the commanders, right? And they're like, hey, people go there, like, no, stand back, do this, and people are like, who are you? What are you? It was so disgusting. They were like, they wanted to be recorded as if they're the leaders and they're the alpha and everybody is taking their command. And people there were like, move aside. This is not, you cannot, like, they were being shut down by the Muslim side.
Stop interfering. Yeah. You're causing problems for us. You're making our lives worse.
Yeah, it was so embarrassing. I don't know why they uploaded that, because they actually accused them of this. And you can see that they took a little bit of they stepped back and they started recording. Muhammad, there's a video, and I'm going to show all of this to Secular Jihadist. He goes to a reporter like, do you want to interview me? And the lady was like, no, move aside. I was just a recorder. Like, it was so embarrassing. It was so
He
bad.
posted this himself?
Ali Dava posted this.
Oh,
like, Muhammad
no.
walks to the reporter like, do you have any questions? Do you want to report this? And like, the lady was like, who are you? Move aside. We just want to record. It was so bad. It was so bad. I don't know. I'm gonna go over all this on Secular Judges. So go check this out. It's so bad.
Oh my god.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
crazy.
It was so good,
Overall, this whole situation has got to be so freaking embarrassing to on so many different levels. On so many different levels. First of all, this ongoing incident is going to be used for years as fuel of anti-immigrant rhetoric. This is a dream of people that oppose immigration to see this kind of thing. This is like they're salivating at the mouth to see this kind of thing. And I was thinking about it. If I was a normal person living in Leicester, I would be so freaking pissed. I would be so angry about all this BS. I'd be like, I live in this community. I'm just here to have a normal life. And you come and bring like your subcontinent style communalism into my town for the sake of what? A freaking cricket match? Are you an adult? What's wrong with you? And this isn't even if I was like a white English person or if I was a second or first, third generation immigrant myself. If I was an immigrant in Leicester from a South Asian community, I would be so freaking pissed at these people. I'd be like, what's wrong with you guys? Do you have any idea what damage you're doing to our community? The way that people will use this to fuel racism towards all of us? Have you no shame? For the sake of your religion, for the sake of your religious group, you're fucking over all of us? Like, am I off base?
No. And actually, I'm going to show to be fair, there were some Muslims and Hindus who got together. Friendly Muslims sent me a clip of video who were like, oh, this doesn't represent us. We're together and the Muslims and Hindus can get along just fine, blah, blah, blah. But it was just like, it was not very passionate. It was just a bunch of old dudes just reading off of a script. And I just wish there was like more. I made I'm going to highlight that part in the secular justice as well. And again, it has to be appreciated that somebody at least did that, right? But it's just so weak and pathetic compared to all the people who are coming out for hatred with more passion, with more charisma, with a lot more understanding of what works with the youth and what gets more clicks and what gets more views, right? I actually suggested on Secular Jihadists with Harris Sultan that the best way is for a whole bunch of passionate, charismatic, young YouTube Muslims or Hindu people who are good with social media and YouTube like that to start a campaign. Again, this is I'm giving you a tip as an atheist, free of charge. Okay, you want to change the narrative? This is Muslims and Hindus in the UK. This is how you do it. Okay, again, consultation free of charge. Okay, you come out together, you're a Hindu temple young or a Hindu young active group. You call up your local mosque or a whole bunch of other Muslims that you know. All right, you're like, let's get some food, make some sandwiches, and go feed people in the street and give food to homeless people at the same time. Right? We do a Muslim Hindu project together, and we get cameras there, and we invite reporters to come to show like, look. That was one side, but it's not everything. Look at us. We, Hindus and Muslims, we are able to get together and do something like this, okay? To show that not all of us are just hating on each other. Okay, and the reporters should love this, right? Because reporters like, oh yeah, good immigrants is like their bread and butter, right? Like, oh, we're like highlighting some positive stuff from immigrants. Like, look, this is the side that other people don't show you. Like, they love this. The reporters would love this. So tell them that, and it's just it's beautiful. So everybody would like to cover it. I will cover it as well. Like, I know that means not much to you guys, but I will cover it. Right? Just do this project. It will. Everybody would, like, many people would appreciate it. Muslims from your side would appreciate it. Like, oh, look, they're making us look good. These events make us look bad, but some people are actually doing something that makes us look good, right? Hindus, Muslims get together, make sandwiches, okay? No pork, no beef sandwiches, right? So, and feed it to the homeless, and also hug each other, get people to record each other. Imagine like a Muslim on one side and a Hindu on the other side. The other one is cutting bread, and the Muslim is like putting stuff in the bread, like they're working side by side next to each other and feeding homeless people. This is beautiful. Works. It's like you're doing something positive. You're helping. You're changing the narrative. You're helping homeless people, and you're making the streets safer for Muslims and Hindus, and you're also changing, because a lot of people are now having more anti-immigrant views about you guys because of all of this, right? You want to fix that?
I was reading a really interesting piece by a guy who's from an immigrant background saying we need tighter controls on who immigrates to the UK. And this is actually a really interesting piece because it talks about post-Brexit. There's been a disproportionate amount of non-EU migrants that come to the UK, but a disproportionate amount of these immigrants are from South Asia, particularly India and Pakistan. From 2019 to 2021, the number of Pakistani citizens granted a skilled work visa rose by 62%, with the corresponding figure for Indian citizens being 14%. When it comes to sponsored study visas from 2019 to 2021, this has risen by an astonishing amount for Pakistani and Indian nationals. 256% increase and 164% increase, respectively. A total of almost 100,000 Indian nationals were granted sponsored study work visas by the UK in 2021 alone, and a further almost 65,000 on skilled work visas. So, and then they're saying, of course, like many migrants who have studied, work, and indeed permanently resettled in the UK, the majority of recently arrived immigrants from the Indian subcontinent will look positively to contribute to the social, cultural, and economic spheres of British life. But in a country which is now having to get to grips with subcontinental style sectarianism and ultra-religious identity politics, which has seen parts of a regional English city descend into Hindutva Islamist battleground, is it wise to have such high levels of immigration from India and Pakistan? This is not to indulge in sweeping generalizations, but rather to understand the potential risks attached to high levels of immigration from these particular countries. What do you think about that?
I mean, to be fair, the Indians and Pakistanis in UK might agree with that. Some of them don't want any more of the. So I don't think that would be. I'm talking about the ones who are already there. Your lives will be your future. I know you're young right now and you're rebellious and you might not care, right? If you're in your 20s or you're in your teens, or you might not care about these things. But when you turn 30 and 40, you're going to pay a heavy price for living in a country where people don't have favorable views on you, right? And at that point, it might not seem like it, but at that point, you are going to care. And every time you see a news like this, other people like doing this, you're going to cringe. You're like, oh my God, I used to be young and do stuff like that. How embarrassing.
Think about all the
us.
people who moved from Pakistan, from India, and they're like, I moved to the UK to get away from this BS.
There you go. That's a good point. Actually.
I would be losing my mind. In fact, this is one thing I find since I've been in Europe. I find this really amusing about Europe. I have never met so many immigrants who dislike other immigrants this much. Yeah. Like, I don't see this in the United States. And so it's fascinating to see people. I'm like, you came from Pakistan, but you're like, hell no.
Actually, Muslims in the United States.
Okay, but it's just something I've noticed.
No, I mean, a lot of Muslims in the United States are also more immigration because they think that they would be embarrassed, or like they were like, we have a thing going on here. Please don't ruin it. So there's that. In the US, we have that as well. Yeah. We got a super chat. What is this?
Ramen. Oh, my lovely Ramen. He gave us another €5 super chat. Thank you, Ramen. He's saying, if a mere sports match is enough to trigger Hindu-Muslim religious violence, what will happen in the UK if there is a war between India and Pakistan?
Right, that's a good point, actually.
Yo, I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah. Here, let's read this one. Yeah, that's a good point. We don't know, but that's a very good thing to think about. Yeah.
Forever Stormy is... who is an Indian woman herself, is saying they brought their hatred to a foreign land instead of leaving it behind. That's the shameful part. And I think, oh yeah, and she says, please download.
I have
before he.
Here, I have. It was so embarrassing that I was like, this video might get removed, so I downloaded it immediately. So. Also, Sacha is saying, why sandwiches? We can make biryani. Okay, yes, that makes more sense. Okay.
Isn't biryani Persian?
Yeah. No, I know. Well, I mean,
continuing the fight you had with Horace on secular jihadists.
Wait, look,
the supremacy of Persian food.
Look, this is.
This
This is the part where people are coming to Muhammad Hijab and telling him, like, bro, what are you doing here? And he's trying to, like,
London, yeah.
We've grew up here. We grew up. We don't need you to come here and doing all of this. Stop that. We don't need that, bro.
Okay, but listen.
see, like, we don't need you, like, we grew up here. You're from London. We don't need you to come here and tell us to say stop here. Like, he was trying to act like a leader, and they now made him like, at first he was like acting like really macho and leadership like, but they forced him to tone it down a little bit, right? But like, let me find the reporter part, because I want to make sure I get that part. I described that part right. Yeah, her. Okay.
Who raised you?
Yeah, hold on.
I want to say to these guys, who raised you?
Yeah, just a second.
Yeah, how many? Jonathan,
Listen.
yeah, let's speak to the Guardian first.
Good.
You want to speak to me?
And if you like, who are you?
I'm a YouTuber.
No, we're
Oh, okay. All right, no problem. Yeah.
Why would they upload this? Why did they upload this? She was like, he comes to her and he's like, do you want to speak to me? Like, first of all, that question by itself, like, do you think you're so famous that she would just be like, oh my God, Muhammad Hijab is here. Yes, let's place the interview. She's like, who are you?
I'm a YouTuber. He says it with such authority.
No, first he pauses because, like, what? Like, he doesn't say anything. And then he realizes how insignificant, like, oh, I'm a YouTuber. She's like, no. Well, and she's like, well, I'm writing. One more time. This is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. I want to watch this one more time.
Yeah, how many? Jonathan,
Listen.
yeah, let's speak to the Guardian first.
Let's speak to the Guardian first. He's like, let's speak to the Guardian first, as if like they're gonna do it rounds. We're talking to different. So,
You want to speak to me?
no, wait, don't say anything. Hold on.
Jonathan,
Listen.
yeah, let's speak to the Guardian first. You want to speak to me?
And if you like, who are you?
Who are you? I love it when she says, who are you?
I'm a YouTuber.
No, we're
Oh, okay. All right, no problem. Yeah.
Why would you upload this? Why would you upload this? This is so bad. This is the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. Like, I'm embarrassed for you. God damn it. But the whole video is like it's not just that. This whole video is embarrassment after embarrassment after embarrassment. They come in strong, telling people to stop, don't go here. And people are like, what are you doing? Like, you're not from here. This is our town. Like, stop ordering us around. It was such a self-own. And they have all the recordings of the things that they're accused of. And they just, Ali Davo, like, posted this on his channel. And I don't understand. Like, do you hate, like, are you, anyways. It was bad, but I'm gonna review this video on other things and the things I'm friendly
You
Muslim
can't
has said.
make this stuff up. Oh my God.
I'm-
Who are you?
I'm gonna go.
Also, I would like to say that I appreciate all the Indians in the chat talking about how they're reverse colonizing Britain. That's freaking hilarious. I love you guys.
But again,
think-
let me say this, because you didn't let me. Again, I'm gonna remind everybody. I'm gonna review this video and some other points about all of this is happening on Secular Jihadist YouTube channel. So search for Secular Jihadist, because there's a new short video that's going to come out about this. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm going to highlight this video. There's a lot of juicy, embarrassing parts of it. So if you want to see that, make sure you're on that channel.
I
Right,
think
go on.
overall, based on everything I've read, the Islamist side of this is way worse than the Hindutva side of this. Like, the worst that I've seen reported that the Hindutva side did was walk down this one Muslim area of Leicester chanting Jai Shri Ram, versus the Muslim side of this were mobbing people, desecrating religious sites, intimidating religious sites in that other city I can't pronounce, throwing bottles at police, assaulting police. Like, so it's not like proportionate on both sides. I don't know. I think what's difficult is for a country that is trying to be very progressive is how to be honest and frank about having these discussions. Because in the media that I've been reading from England, like they're not being very frank about the dynamics between these two groups, that these groups are religious minorities, that they're ethnic minorities, that they're immigrants. Like people want to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like treat this with kid gloves, like walk around the tough spots without really acknowledging what's happening. And we need to be able to have honest discussions about what's really going on. I don't know what the solution for this kind of thing would be. We need to make sure that people are better integrated into communities, that the police appropriately respond to signals that stuff like this might happen, and they're not afraid to get it hands on because they think they're going to be accused of racism or something. Because we know that's a huge problem in the UK, that the police just don't want to do things because they think someone's going to call them racist. So they leave their citizens to get assaulted and way worse things to happen to children. I mean, it's horrific. Like, I don't know. And I think, people talk about the importance of these community leaders, like coming out and condemning these things and showing people a new way. At the same time, part of me is like, why are we outsourcing this authority to community leaders who seem to be ineffectual? Why are we outsourcing that authority? They should be respecting the authority of the state, their society, their neighbors, having a beneficial life for everyone. Not, I'm not going to do it only because, my Friday mom told me not to. I don't know. I love how Satya is always clowning us. I never expected this honesty from a liberal. You got me. Armin, you're muted.
Okay, I don't understand this comment by Oxymoron. What is this?
Good outcome of this will be now the UK and white world will lose its moral authority to lecture the brown world. I don't understand what this is supposed to mean because
I have no idea.
The people who did this came from the brown world. I don't know. I think that might be an own goal.
I don't know what that means, but okay. Okay.
You're saying I'm surprised that I agree with Susie. Well, I think
you say that every week. How are you still surprised?
I'm a smart cookie, okay? I might be a lib, but I try to be, smart and consistent.
I think the fact that we're liberals and he's agreeing with us is surprising to him every time.
It breaks my brain on a weekly basis.
All right. Okay. Can we do you want to highlight anything else, or should we move on to the next one?
No, we can move on. This next news is quick and it's freaking hilarious.
Okay, so we can clap. Next news. Doctors
claim that 92% of Saudi women watch adult video content.
PORN. Just say PORN.
The prawn, okay? They watch prawn, and this claim sparks outrage.
Wait, 92% of Saudi women.
Let me finish. Okay.
Okay.
Recently, in a televised interview in Saudi Arabia, prominent doctor, Dr. Nizar Baber, stated that 92% of Saudi women have watched online prawn. Okay, I'm using coded language. His statement sparked rage in the Saudi social media realm. Dr. Baber is the director of the Saudi Society for Infectious Diseases with over 230,000 online followers. He was lamenting over access to prawn, which he claims is freely aired on satellite television. He mentioned in the interview that data from 2014 showed that just 23% of Saudi women reported seeing at least one adult content video. However, when the survey was repeated in 2019, the number went up to 92%. Quote, therefore, in many premarital seminars, I tell men you cannot blame your wife who you recently married and asked her, how do you know about these things? Because access to this content is much easier than before, the doctor said. As reaction to the doctor's remarks, the Arabic hashtag Nazari Badari insults Saudi women quickly went viral. One user tweeted, "He is sitting there and giving the world the impression that Saudi women are easy." Defending himself, the doctor stated that the latest survey had a sample of 3,000 respondents and was done, quote, in order to create proper awareness and to determine the extent of the problem.
Wait, so this is actually, I thought you were going to say that this study is wrong, or like the way that they define adult content is, I don't know, like Netflix could also be PORN for them.
Oh, by their standards? Okay, here's the thing. That's actually difficult to determine. And the way that I saw this reported in English media, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of inconclusive. So the way that it was written
Is it a good study? Is it a good study? That's what I'm asking.
Okay, well, here's what I'm about to say. This doesn't seem to be an official study. Based on the way this was reported on in English media, okay, this is my understanding, caveat. It seems like he maybe just conducted this poll on like Twitter or something.
No way.
He made it. He made a comment like, "Well, this is just like who follows me," or I feel like there was maybe something lost in translation.
He did a Twitter poll, and he's a doctor. Okay, where is this? What is this source?
It's okay. A lot of this isn't entirely clear. That's the problem.
Okay.
So again, because this is like translated media, but even so, let's just say, for the sake of argument, this. Even though I don't believe it's true that this was like a completely credited, like this was really good polling methods, all this stuff. Like 3,000 respondents is actually like a really good large sample, right? Even so, the sample is just asking, have you seen one adult video content, image, video, whatever in your life? One. Again, how are they defining that? By whose standards are they defining what is prawn, right? Maybe it could be something that by our standards, we're like, this is just like.
How could you, like, if it's a Twitter, right? First of all, if it's a Twitter poll, how could you even stop other people from answering it if you're not a Saudi woman? Hey, please only answer if you're a Saudi woman. Like, I'm trusting you on this. Like, what?
Yeah. So D is helping me clarify because she also edited this. D wrote this story. She was saying this was a survey of his social media followers only.
Okay, but that's not a scientific poll. That's not a scientific poll.
No, not at all.
What? And he's a doctor? Is his degree as legitimate as his poll?
Well, he said this was just done to, ascertain the extent of this problem, this scourge upon society. And it doesn't talk about in what context women saw.
I really wanted to believe. I'm so upset and disappointed because I really wanted to believe that 92% of Saudi women watch adult content on a regular basis, not all the time, not just once in their entire lifetime. Okay, this is such a disappointing outcome of what this news is actually about.
Because when I first heard this news and before I read the details about how it was conducted, and then it was like, did you see this once? I was looking up the polls, and if this was true, this would be higher than rates of watching this kind of content for women in America, if true, which I thought was pretty funny. I think it might even be higher than American men. I can't quite remember, but like very, very high. And I think this is so funny about the way that this is phrased, or the framing of this, right? Because he's saying, therefore, in many premarital seminars, I tell men that you cannot blame your wife who you recently married and asked her, how do you know about these things? Because access to this content is much easier than before. So they're like,
actually,
you shouldn't say to your newlywed bride, like, you whore, how do you know these things? You slut. Like, that's the context of that. That's the framing of this.
Okay. I'm taking the side of the doctor. Okay. Now he's trying to save, but whatever the methodology is, his intention is to save the woman, right? If you just got the best blowjob from your wife, who were supposed to be a virgin, he's saying like, you can't blame it. You can't be like, wait a second, this was too good. Okay. if you come like a horse, right? It doesn't mean
Oh.
that she's not a virgin. Okay, if she just like if it was the best experience that you've ever had with a woman, because I know Saudi men, they get around before marriage. Okay, do not come down hard on her. I mean, not figuratively. Figuratively, you can literally you can, but figuratively not, right? But just understand that she just learned that from watching adult content. So this is actually very important. Okay, I actually endorse this doctor now, even though he's not a real doctor apparently, right?
No, he is a real doctor. He's just not a real researcher.
He's not a good doctor. Okay, he's not a real researcher, right? I really do endorse him because it could be very, if you do have too much of an amazing sex with a woman that is supposed to be a virgin, right, in Saudi Arabia,
This is
that
a little sus.
that it's not just a little sus. It can be actually dangerous for her. This could be dangerous for her and the honor of her family, right? So if you have an excuse, like, hey, what can I do? This is like a very like a depraved world, and it's hard for a woman to not see, social media, right? You come across things that you're not supposed to, and I like for half a second, I just saw something, and now I just give the best blowjob ever. Like it's not my fault that I just saw how to do it, right? Right? So it's not really my fault. Have you seen social media, right? So I think like if you could come up with an understanding of let's just blame it on that instead of me actually having real life experience, it might save some women.
Actually, like genuinely from domestic violence. That's a good point.
Yeah, from domestic violence. Yeah, so this might actually be a good thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Raisin is saying, I mean, she could just be a natural.
It's in my DNA. It's in my DNA to give such good blowjobs. Okay, what can I do? I don't know why I'm so good at it. It just seemed like the right thing to do.
Oh my gosh. Saudi men is saying, D is saying that Saudi men should be thankful.
But actually, that's the problem. They wouldn't be. Their honor is so important, and a woman who has experience is seen as a used product, okay? And they're so disgusted. Some of them, this honor culture make them so disgusted by that no matter how good the experience was, the idea that you were with another man will make them want to hurt you, right? So some of them, again, not all Saudi men, okay? It can be very dangerous. So if you could just come up with an excuse, even if it's stupid, I mean, I was going to say something that might be perceived as, yeah, I'm not going to say it. But again, it might work. It might work, right?
Oh,
all right.
So. Okay, so that was hilarious. Let's move to the next news, which is a little bit more complex.
Right. Can we, by the way, somebody's saying it's jealousy. It's beyond jealousy. Jealousy is biological. And it's like, it's a feeling that evolutionary we're born with, right? I mean, even my dog has jealousy. Like if you pet one of them, and the other one loses his mind, right? You're like, why is she getting petted? Like what the hell?
Literally.
Right? So, yeah. So,
I get jealous when the cat is getting too much attention.
So jealousy is natural. This is honor culture. So honor culture, when you get angry, it's a mix of honor culture and jealousy, right? Jealousy, you have it even in societies who are not very conservative or very religious. You still see some jealousy. Honor culture is about your reputation and your standing within your tribe because of your woman have had slept with other men. So it's about your image and your standing as a man within your tribe. Your manhood being questioned because your woman has been allowed to be with another man. So that is way beyond jealousy.
Yeah.
All right.
It's jealousy on steroids.
Yeah. Can we clap for the next
by religious intolerance? Okay, are you ready for the next news?
Yes. Can we clap?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Next news.
The battle to allow Hindu prayers in a historic Indian mosque. Okay. Apologies in advance because I don't know how to pronounce things. Whoa, that's a giant water bottle. I want that. Okay, anyways, recently the Navabi Mosque in the state of Uttar Pradesh in India has been disputed over whether Hindus or Muslims should have control of the site and who is allowed to pray on its premises. Historians widely agree that in the past, a Hindu temple to Lord Shiva was built at the current location of the mosque. According to historical accounts, in 1669, the Mughal emperor Aurangzeb ordered the temple's destruction, and the Navabi Mosque was built atop its premises, atop the remains. Going back as far as 1991, local Hindu priests petitioned for access to the mosque, and 20 years later, this contention has been reignited. The mosque's management committee.
I think it's Gyanvapi. Gyanvapi.
Okay, let's. I'll go with that. Thank you. The mosque's management committee challenged a petition to allow Hindu prayers inside of the mosque, saying it violated the Places of Worship Act, which upholds the status of all religious sites as they stood at the time of independence in 1947. In April of 2021, a videographic survey of the site was ordered after a new petition to worship was filed by 5 Hindu women. The survey revealed evidence of Hindu symbols and iconography and this discovery of a Shivalingam. The mosque management committee countered that the Shivaling was the remains of a fountain that worshippers used to wash before praying. The two sides continue to go back and forth in the courts with no clear end in sight. So I wanted to talk about this because there has been some recent developments in the court cases that have been happening. There was one that happened on the 22nd, I believe. They pushed the hearing back for another couple of days. And so it's like continuing to go back and forth. So I will lay forth the matter at hand as I understand it. Okay. Because I don't necessarily know if I have a claim about what is better or who's right, all that stuff. My understanding is, like I said, back in the day, there was this Hindu temple for Lord Shiva. Okay. Then, according to many historical accounts, some people dispute it. The Mughal emperor Aurangzeb demolished the temple and put a mosque on top of it. And this has been here for a very long time. Now, fast forward to the 90s. In the 90s, there was the Ram Mandir movement, which basically saw the destruction of the Babri Masjid. And now, coming forward another 20 years, they're building a temple in its place to signify the birthplace of Lord Rama, and the mosque has had to be moved to the premises nearby. So when this happened in 1991, it's still in many ways like an open wound in the Indian consciousness. This Ayodhya temple versus Babri Mosque contention. And so when this happened, in order to prevent more things like this happening again, at the time in the 90s, the Places of Worship Act was passed. Because with the Babri Masjid, the contention was this used to be a temple. This is where Lord Rama was born. Now it's a mosque because of our Mughal or, our Muslim oppressors. We're going to basically destroy this mosque and we're going to take it back as ours, as a Hindu holy site, right? And basically they succeeded. But like I said, this resulted in mass death, essentially because of rioting. And so the government was like, okay, we need to get a hold on this because we have lots of places across the country where historically they could be contested like this. So for the sake of trying to prevent more of this, just like huge controversy, right? And violence, they did the Places of Worship Act, which says, okay, the status of a religious place as it stood at the time of independence, we're locking that in. We're going to keep it that way. Except there was a special exemption made for the Babri Masjid because that was being litigated separately at the time. So they're saying, okay, if there was a masjid that used to be a temple a couple 100,000 years ago, if it was a masjid at the time of independence, we're locking it in. We're keeping it a masjid, okay? Historical evidence, all this stuff aside, we're going to keep it this way. So, fast forward to today. So this temple has been under contention for a very long time, like going back to the 90s, actually even before then. And now there has been a new petition filed by 5 Hindu women who, according to reports I've read, do have connections to right-wing Hindu groups, who are saying, we want to be granted permission to go into this special area of the Vapi shoot. into this new masjid. We want to be granted access to be able to pray to our deities there. And visible, invisible, like we want to be granted access to be able to do this frequently. Actually, currently, the mosque already allows for Hindu worshipers to come and worship within the mosque for 1 day out of the year. And so now there's this huge fight over this, right? And a lot of this is like legal language, procedural stuff that I don't understand. So I'm not going to pretend to be a legal scholar where I understand the legal minutia, because a lot of it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But basically then the government is like, okay, we need to be allowed special access into these sites so we can do archaeological research. And my understanding is at the moment the government said, okay, actually the Places of Worship Act does not apply in this case. And you need to be letting these Hindus in to come pray to their Hindu gods in your mosque. And the Muslim side came back and said, basically, we are not able, they contested on the grounds of maintainability. They said we would not be able to maintain or fulfill the orders of this court. And that this actually violates the Places of Worship Act that should be protected under these things, blah, blah, blah. The court has come back and said, nope, that doesn't apply. You have to allow this. And so there's still a lot of back and forth going on in the courts, but that is my understanding of where things are at nowadays. Now, part of this comes from, and this is actually very important, this fountain in part of the masjid that looks like a Shiva Lingam. Now, the Muslims say this is actually
Shiva's penis.
Which is Shiva's penis, yes. So, which, if true...
That's important note. You have to add that, but go ahead.
No, it is important, because the Muslims are saying that actually this is just a fountain that we use to do our ablutions. So if it actually is a Shiva Lingam, they've been doing their ritual cleaning in the fountain of Shiva's tits.
You have been preparing for Islamic prayers with Shiva's cum. That's what you have been doing. You have been stroking Shiva's dick to purify yourself for an Islamic prayer all these years. That's what you have been doing. If this is
true, will all these prayers have been accepted? This is an important question.
I don't know about if Allah is pleased, but Shiva is very pleased.
Yeah. So then they're going back and forth about.
Do you have a picture of the fountain? Because I want to see, actually, Muslims, you have to look for everything around all your mosques in India. Anything that looks like a penis, you have to hide it before the Hindus come in there and look at it, okay? Make sure no Hindus find anything penis looking anywhere in any of your mosques, or else it will take over.
Literally anything that's just like domed with a pillar is a Shiva Lingam. Like there was this whole incident in San Francisco Golden Gate Park where there was literally a traffic barrier that was built out of granite that was literally just domed with a pyramid, and it became a problem for the city of San Francisco because people started doing pilgrimages to go worship a traffic barrier.
This is what the Shiva Lingam looks like. For people who don't know, this is, you have this picture here too. This is supposed to be Shiva's dick.
He's looking at it like, that's my penis.
That's my penis. And that's Parvati. That's Parvati's vagina, right?
Yes.
Parvati? Yeah. Okay, so the bottom is Parvati's vagina and the top is Shiva's penis.
No, but this is actually very important, and I want to put some pieces together here. So this argument over is this fountain a Shiva Lingam and therefore proof that this is actually a Hindu temple is so it's very important because this argument is the argument that Nupur Sharma was having on Indian national TV when she said the supposed derogatory comments about the Prophet Muhammad. This is what they were arguing over. And because of that argument, India found itself in the midst of a diplomatic crisis. So this is actually very consequential.
You know, the whole story of the Shiva's Dick story was Shiva's Dick's burning the whole world. So you could see, even till this day, Shiva's Dick is continuing to burn the world. This is actually goes in line with this.
Wait, that's such a good point.
It's the continuation of that story. It's doing what it's supposed to do.
Get out of here. Oh my gosh. So, in terms of this whole story, like I don't know like where to fall on this issue. In general, there are many movements across India to basically take back mosques. And so this is an example of that, in my opinion. And this is something, I mean, that's been going on for decades, right? This isn't even necessarily anything that's new. And yeah, so it's highly politicized, obviously. But in terms of, I have no personal knowledge or to be able to say, oh, this is definitely a mosque. This isn't a Shiva Lingam. Oh, no, this is 100% a Hindu temple, blah, blah, blah. I can't be able to say these things. I do know that the temple that was destroyed and the one of the walls was kept, and that wall became the Qibla wall for praying towards Mecca, which I thought was interesting. Armin, do you have any like overall opinions about this contention over like should we be making these mosques back into Hindu temples?
I just like how in the 21st century, Muslims and Hindus are having fights over whether or not a fountain is penis looking enough for a building to be a mosque or a temple. Okay, this is where we at right now. Okay, people are trying to colonize more. Some people are trying to colonize Mars. Some people are looking at a fountain and deciding whether or not this is penis looking enough and killing each other over it. Okay, that's where we're at, Muslims and Hindus. Congratulations. This is what
they're going to be doing some carbon dating or something. And in the meantime, while this is being decided, like Muslims who still go to the mosques are completely barred from using this fountain area for doing wuzu.
Okay, can somebody confirm if this is the picture of the fountain that has been like photo of Shiva Ling found in I forgot how to pronounce this. Gyan Vapi goes viral. Mosque lawyer says it's a fountain. So like the mosque is like, this is just a fountain where we used to pray. And look, they're like, the Hindus are like, but if you zoom in, there's a tip. There's a tip of a penis. Like zoom in and like, oh, like this picture has been leaked and like enhance. Oh, what is that? That's our Lord's penis right in the middle of your fountain. Got you, Muslims. We got you. It's our temple now. This is our temple.
Oh
now.
My God, I can't stand you. No, one thing I appreciate is both of our Hindutva members or supporters in our chat are saying, I don't know why Hindus are going for the Shiva Lingam debate. Better to go with archaeological survey or historical records. And
that's also stupid, though.
Yeah.
That's also stupid. Like, oh, ancient history. Like, let's decide things that happened hundreds and thousands of years ago has relevancy today. Let's kill each other and over it. Fantastic idea. Sure. By the way, YouTube, I'm being sarcastic. I don't want anybody to kill anybody. Yeah.
I think when Hara Sultan talks about civilizational dogma, that's a really good way of putting it. Like how we treat people today being dictated by historical grievance. I don't know. It's something I really can't comprehend.
This is a shaky in the live chat has a great counter. Has a great counter by the Muslims. It's a circumcised penis. It's a circumcised penis. Last time I checked, Hindus don't get circumcised. Okay? It's Allah's penis. This is not Shiva's penis. This is Allah's penis. We have been purifying ourselves for prayer with Allah's penis, not Shiva's penis, because it's circumcised. Is Allah circumcised? I think Allah would be circumcised.
These are good questions.
Got him.
Got him.
Got him. Yes. This is lawyers, Muslim lawyers. You have to tell the Hindus that there's no way that this is a Shiva lingam. It's circumcised. Yes.
Oh my God.
Wait, let's read some. I have started some comments. Tell me if you want to read any of them.
Okay. Wait, let me look quickly.
Or maybe it's erect. If any.
Some of these things are like regarding things that I can't speak to, so I don't know if
Wait, you're right, actually.
Asian American is saying, can we get Shiva some lube? That dick looks cracked.
Oh, no.
I cannot stand our live chat. I love you guys. It's too irreverent. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
The stuff you come up with. Oh my God.
But are you guys not embarrassed? Like, are you not like? Is this your contribution to the civilized world? Like, no matter what side of the debate of this discussion you are, the fact that you're taking any side should be a source of embarrassment. The fact that you're any side of this discussion, the fact that this is your contribution to the civilized world. Like, look how far everybody is moving past you, and look at what you're talking about. Whether you're Hindu and you're supporting one side, or a Muslim or supporting the other side, both of you are embarrassing to the human race.
God damn, Armin.
Yeah, you're embarrassing us. Like, seriously, like I'm hoping there's no aliens watching us, because you are embarrassing all of us. God damn, this is why we can't have nice things. And again,
at the priorities.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm embarrassed on behalf of you guys. If you're not embarrassed, I will be embarrassed on behalf of you.
Yeah, it's just culture war. It's culture war BS.
Okay. Can we clap for the next news?
Yeah, one moment. Okay. Yes. Actually, no,
Okay.
I don't. Okay, in comparison to the other stuff, we'll clap, whatever.
All right. Next news.
Undermining Islam. Moroccan given 2 years imprisonment for blasphemy. On September 13th, Moroccan blogger Fatima Karim was sentenced to 2 years in prison for undermining the Islamic religion after she posted offensive writings on Facebook. Fatima has been in detention since mid-July for sharing satirical verses of the Quran and hadiths of the Prophet Muhammad on her Facebook page. In the trial, Fatima's representation argued that she had exercised her right to freedom of speech under the Moroccan constitution. Fatima claims that she supports secularism, which means the indifference to or rejection of or exclusion of religion and religious considerations. She also publicly apologized to anyone who felt offended. Habib Adi, Fatima's lawyer, said it's a very harsh verdict and further added that an appeal in causation was still under study. Is that the right word? How do you pronounce that word? I don't think that's what I was trying to say. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about this news because I think it's important to, one, highlight that there are people who are prosecuted and criminalized for blasphemy all over the world. Two, because Morocco is supposed to be generally more of a, people, highlight it more as like, oh, this is a more moderate society. Still get stuff like this there, which is really disappointing. And there's also a lot of activists I know in Morocco who get, persecuted with this kind of BS all the time. Undermining the Islamic religion, like, what does that even mean?
Well, what did she say exactly?
I haven't been able to find copies of it, but she was posting satirical versions of the Quran and Hadiths, or satirical renditions.
2 years for that? This is
Mhm.
Morocco. This is not Pakistan. Why is Morocco acting like Pakistan? 2 years? I mean, honestly, if you were Pakistan, you would get death sentence. Never mind.
True. Yeah, that's not a fair comparison at all.
But still, 2 years in Morocco? Like, Morocco is supposed to be way past. I mean, it's not. But, like, guys, this is the best you can get. Like, this is some of the best, the most liberal you can get when it comes to Islamic countries. Like Morocco, the examples you get for more liberal Islamic countries are Morocco, Tunisia, Indonesia, and Malaysia, right? And we get so the best you can get.
When you actually look into it, you're like, this is pretty bad.
This is pretty bad. And it's the best you can expect from Islamic world. I mean, again, guys, so when we criticize India, okay, you have to take this into context, right? We are against many things that are happening to India, okay? But as bad as India is it's better than the best of Islamic countries. So forget about the worst Islamic countries, which is like Iran, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan. Like those standards are insane, right? Even when it comes to the countries that have the highest standards of liberalism, like they're closest to liberal values and secular values, India is still better than those countries. So just keep that into context. Like, you don't get 2 years in jail for coming up with a satirical version of, I don't know, Gita or anything. You get FIRs, you might get something, but you don't get 2 years in prison. In India, you will get in trouble, maybe if you make cartoons of Cali or something like that. You might get in trouble, right? You might get, I don't know, harassed or something. But the government doesn't put you in jail for 2 years. So
actually, the if you are sentenced, the maximum punishment you can get for Section 295, which is one of India's blasphemy codes, is 3 years or a fine or both.
Yeah, but has anybody gotten 3 years in prison for blasphemy in India?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. There's a difference between what's on the books and what actually happens. Yeah.
Now I'm curious.
Well, if I'm wrong, correct me. Again, I'm not excusing India. India is moving in the wrong direction. I'm just saying, just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Such as I don't know how to take that. The standard offends me, but the praise pleases me. You're saying India is bad, but you're telling me that it's better than all Islamic countries. So I have mixed feelings about you. I have mixed feelings.
I'll take what I can get. And what's really sad is that this penalty is possibly going to be increased to 5 years in prison, because there's a condition where if the offense is committed in public, including by electronic means, then you can get sentenced to 5 years.
Yeah, but we don't have examples of somebody going to jail for 2 years or more for blasphemy in India. We just don't have that.
I don't think you can make that claim.
I am making that claim. If I'm wrong, correct me.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it's good to remember that in June of last year, we talked about this. There was an Italian Moroccan woman who was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison, also for undermining Islam. And she was released. It was amended to 2 months suspended prison sentence, only because human rights defenders came out and they were like, what the hell is going on? And really, it's because the Italian government got involved because it was one of their citizens.
Yeah, so somebody was shot dead, somebody saying that, but by who? The government didn't shoot anybody for blasphemy. Okay, are you talking about mob justice, or are you talking about the government? The government, oh yeah, we killed this person because they were blaspheming, I don't know, Rama or something. That doesn't happen in India. by the government. Okay, what the people do, that's a different thing.
Gay Nomadic is saying Armin is so cute when he giggles. That's such a cute thing to say.
Thank you. All right. Should we move on? See, we have a lot of people from India in the live chat. Nobody has corrected me. I'm going to take this as a potential sign that I'm correct about this, because I'm sure people will be shouting it right now if I'm wrong. Oh, here, Troll is saying...
I feel so bad sometimes because you come down so hard.
What?
In the Navabi Mosque thing, you were like, are you not ashamed, embarrassed? I'm like, they didn't do anything, shit.
I'm not, well, I'm liking, okay, no more. So Troll is saying, good point, Ree, what is on the books and legal practice. Until a few years ago, Denmark had a blasphemy law that stipulated up to 2 years for imprisonment, not enforced for 70 years. Yeah, so you can't judge by what's on the book. All right, can we clap for the next news?
Sure.
Okay. Next news. Jewish
university battles in the U.S. Supreme Court to block LGBT club. So there's a lot going on with this case, and I will do my best to break it down. So hang with me for a second. Yeshiva University, a Jewish university in New York, has announced it will pause all student groups after the U.S. Supreme Court decision, a U.S. Supreme Court decision allowing an LGBT group on the university campus. YU Pride Alliance, an LGBT student group, sued the school in 2020 after refusing to recognize them officially. The university claims that the court case is solely about Yeshiva University's freedom to act according to its values without government interference. After the New York County Supreme Court ordered the group's approval, YU appealed the decision and got rejected. On August 29th, the university requested the Supreme Court to intervene. The Supreme Court rejected the request on procedural grounds, stating that all avenues of appeal had not yet been exercised, and that upon completion of said avenues, the university may return to the Supreme Court. In response, the university decided to suspend all student group activities while waiting for the legalities to play out. A lawyer on the students' side, Katie Rosenfeld, stated that the tactics adopted by the university are, quote, a throwback to 50 years ago when the city of Jacksonville, Mississippi chose to close all public swimming pools rather than comply with court orders to desegregate. So, let me do a backup and a breakdown as I understand it. So, there was a LGBT group at Yeshiva University that wanted to be registered as a official recognized campus club, because then you can get like funding from the school and stuff. They were rejected. So in 2020, they decided to sue. Now, obviously it's been 2 years. There's been a lot going on in the courts, and Yeshiva University is maintaining its right as a religious institution to say, we do not have to do things that are against our religion and, you know, our practices, our beliefs, these stuff like this. We have LGBT students. We, you know, prevent discrimination against them in our discrimination policies, but that does not mean that we have to allow and recognize an LGBT student group. And so basically, they've been battling through the courts on different levels for a while now. And there was a court decision from a lower court that basically, my understanding is a lot of this is highly procedural and it gets really confusing, that the school would have to basically comply and recognize them. And in the meantime, the school basically made an emergency plea to the Supreme Court to say, like, can you please interfere with this? Like, our rights are being violated, blah, blah, blah. So the Supreme Court very quickly looked at the case, and the Supreme Court then rejected the Yeshiva University's case. So people are thinking, oh, this is some huge win for the LGBT students. Not exactly. They rejected the plea of the Jewish university purely on the basis of technicality. So they said, you tried to come to us when actually you had several levels of appeal that were still available to you. And your arguments about why you should go straight to us, we don't, we're not buying them. Go back down. If you have to, you can return here. So they're really not making any strong statements about the legitimacy of either side's claim necessarily. Now, there are definitely opinions in the majority versus majority. I think they're called the opinions or whatever the justices put forward. And so here's where things get a little tricky. So the justices that were on the minority side of this decision were basically siding with Yeshiva University and against the majority that said rejected their claim on procedural grounds. And, they're calling for recognition of the school's First Amendment rights and protection of religious freedom, all this stuff. And in the meantime, so what the Supreme Court said when they kicked them back down to the lower appeals court, in the meantime, they said, okay, you have to recognize this LGBT student group. And so in response, the school basically said, okay, instead of recognizing this LGBT group, we are going to block all groups. And they also used the Jewish high holy days as an excuse to block club activities. And in response to that, there was an organization for queer Orthodox Jewish people that basically said, okay, you are going to shut down all clubs to prevent this club from being allowed on your campus. In that case, we're going to take it upon ourselves as a queer organization to fund, we will pay for all the activities of the group, of all clubs that just got shut down because you refused to let this LGBT club go forward. So that's pretty cool. Now, there's been a recent update in basically the LGBT student group has made a major compromise. And, New York's Yeshiva University and the LGBT Student Club reached a compromise after the university lost a bid to have the Supreme Court block a court order that requires the school to recognize the club. The Pride group extended the compromise after the school said it would put all undergraduate club activities on hold while it took steps to follow the roadmap provided by the Supreme Court to protect the university's religious freedom. And so YU Pride Alliance said that it would voluntarily agree to a non-legally binding stay or pause of the court order. So they're saying, we will agree that you do not have to follow the court order. We made this agreement in a way that's not legally binding, but for the sake of everyone, we don't want everyone to be punished on behalf of us. So we will make a compromise for the sake of everyone else, essentially. Now, I was reading some legal analysis of this today. And like I said, a lot of this is very procedural. A lot of this is about how you have to read between the lines of when someone makes this minority decision versus that, and why did a judge flip and all this stuff. So a lot of it is above my head. But what I was reading is basically that if this were to go before the Supreme Court, the LGBT student club would likely lose. And this would be, a major blow to student rights, to LGBT rights, and to secularism. And so because this would be such a huge blow, they are just like, okay, we're not going to push it. We will let this play out in courts for a few more years because we don't want the Supreme Court to get immediately involved and actually lose a lot more than just our student group. Like setting very dangerous precedents, actually. So that was some legal analysis I read today, especially because of what was written in the majority versus minority decisions. There were like a lot of hints about how things would go should they appear before the court and not be kicked down on the basis of procedure. And basically those hints are not in the LGBT club's favor. So a lot of people are saying this is actually kind of the reason why the club is taking a step back. Now, there's a huge contention here because obviously Yeshiva University, this sounds like an explicitly religious organization. But back in the 60s, this school actually changed its category from basically a religious institution to a predominantly educational institution. I don't remember the exact kind of category, but they changed their categorical, however they're recognized by the government, basically to be able to receive government funding. And so because of that, there has been arguments before the court that they said that this is not really a religious institution. So you don't get to make these kinds of rules on the basis of religious freedom, because that is not how you were recognized in our, in terms of compliance, in terms of categories and stuff like that. Like the actual yeshiva part of Yeshiva University, the full-blown religious institution part of the university, is now just an affiliate. So they're arguing that you do not have the same level of protection of religious freedom because you made this compromise back in the 60s to be able to receive government funding. And so this is like a huge back and forth that's been going on, and I think it will continue for a long time.
All right, I'm not going to add any commentary because your commentary was very complete, and I think we should move on to the next story.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Wait, there was a comment by D that I wanted to highlight, or I can read out loud. D is saying, I don't see this ending well, as the Supreme Court has been deciding cases putting religious freedom over anti-discrimination laws. Yes, obviously. So this is an excellent point, D. Like, based on especially the current bench that we have on the Supreme Court, how they've been deciding things recently, including allowing prayer back in schools, allowing religious institutions to receive government funding. This doesn't look good for the LGBT club ultimately. And not only does it not look good for the LGBT club, but it doesn't look good for a lot of us.
All right. I'm excited about one reason. I'm actually excited about the next news. Do I have the right one up? This is actually very interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Can I clap for this? I think I can clap. Yes.
Yeah.
Next news.
Denmark proposes hijab ban in elementary schools and backlash ensues. On September 12th, the Danish Commission for the Forgotten Women's Struggle, an organization of Denmark's ruling Social Democratic Party, announced a proposal to ban hijabs for students across Danish elementary schools. It is one of 9 recommendations to prevent, quote, prevent honor-related social control of women from minority backgrounds. Additional recommendations include modern Danish language courses for minority ethnicity parents, ethnically diverse groups in daycare centers, preventing exemptions to Christian studies in schools, and improvement of sex education in primary schools and tighter oversight of independent Muslim schools. The headscarf ban proposal has faced huge backlash in Denmark. Iram Khawaja, associate professor at the Danish School of Education at Aarhus University, has spoken against the ban. Khawaja said, quote, it is problematic to equate the hijab with negative social control. There are also girls who do not wear the hijab who are exposed to negative social control.
Wait, but doesn't it include other things other than the hijab as well?
So some of the other recommendations include, having some of these parents learn more Danish, improvement of sex education, tighter oversight, like I said, of independent Muslim schools.
Wait, the Christian studies part, that's
okay, but this actually really confused me. One of the recommendations was preventing exemptions to Christian studies classes in schools.
What? Why?
I don't know. That was not clear to me based on what I was reading. I was like, what the hell? Ew. I don't support that.
This is inconsistent. This is I don't understand. Are they saying Denmark is Christian? I don't understand. And improve sex education. Oh, yeah, sex education I'm for. but Christian studies in classes, this goes like they're not being consistent. Like this seems just being anti-immigrant more than anti. Like I would have been endorsing this because it's like, oh, we're gonna stand against brainwashing our children, right? That's not. I'm like, yeah, go Denmark. But they're like, oh yeah, take the Islam out and put the Christian in. Like let's give them the right form of brainwashing. Can somebody like maybe we're not this is so confusing. Maybe we're not understanding what actually happened here. Like, is this actually what happened, or are we misunderstanding?
So no, this is
so
like
confusing.
multiple reporting I've read on this has like talked about this. So this is like some sort of Danish thing that I don't understand. But like, let's step away from like that Christian studies thing for a moment because I want to get into the argument about the hijab. So the defenders are basically saying that it will disproportionately stigmatize ethnic minority girls and disproportionately stigmatize these families by promoting the assumption that they are pressuring their daughters to do this. And so what do you think about that?
I mean, if you're doing it selectively, then yes. If you're like, hey, we're just doing it for everybody, not just Islam, then like you're not stigmatizing anybody. You're just like removing dogma entirely from kindergarten or whatever, daycare, whatever. Then you're not stigmatizing anybody. We just have an anti-dogma policy. I'm sorry, okay? But if you do like no to Islamic dogma and yes to then then this is more anti-immigration rather than anti-dogma. But let me actually, maybe I'm here.
Trells is having some really important clarification. Thank you for our resident Dane. Trells is saying, in Danish public schools, we have a class called Christian Studies. It has been called like that for like half a century, but in practice, it is more like a religion class. But because it is called Christian Studies, parents can exempt their children from it, and that makes it so that Muslims don't learn a pretty important topic of Danish culture. That makes a lot more sense. So they should change the name of this program to have it be more reflective of social studies, not Christian studies. Because if that's the contention, then I support people like being allowed to have an exemption if that's the framing of it.
But it's saying in practice, it's more like a religion class. Well, in practice, that's horrible.
No, I believe it's more like not imbuing religion in children, but teaching children about religion in like a sociological context. Trells, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I interpreted what you said.
You don't need that in kindergarten and daycare? I don't know if
it's in kindergarten. This is elementary school.
Okay, you don't need this until you hit college.
What? You don't think it's at all helpful to teach children about comparative religion?
Elementary school? Elementary school is about the foundational basic things like math, science, reading, writing. You don't need to learn what the Hindus believe in, do you?
I think that's useful.
Okay. I think it's just like I think that's what,
especially if it's in the context of just teaching people, okay, this is what these people believe. This is what these people believe. Look at, they're not so different than us. Look at maybe what your parents tell you about these groups and maybe how they're bad isn't true. You know, countering narratives that you get at home that could be harmful.
I don't know what they're teaching. Okay. The fact that it's called Christian studies, you know, you shouldn't be forcing it upon kids, even if it's just the name, okay? Even if it has no Christian teachings, but it's just called Christian studies, like you shouldn't force it on people until you change the goddamn name.
Well, yes. Okay, yes. But here's the thing. Also in Denmark, what is called elementary school is very different than in America. So in America, I don't know what it is like in Canada. In America, elementary school is like kindergarten to usually 5th grade max. Okay. But in Denmark, I believe it's the ages of 6 to 16. So it's actually, because there was a hijabi student that was interviewed about this, and she was saying like she was 15 years old, and she's like, oh, I'm going to have to take off the hijab. That surprised me because in my context, 15 is way too old for elementary school. So these are actually kids that are much older. Charles is saying, correct, Susanna, it's a comparative religious studies. Also, it varies a lot between school levels. So in elementary school, it would be like maybe reading a Christmas story.
Would you read a Ramadan story as well, or just a Christmas story? See, it's a Christmas story. So it's Christian focused.
He's just giving that as an example.
Okay, Terrell, would you also learn like a Ramadan story, or is it just like a Christmas story? Does it have a Hindu? Does it have a Diwali section? Does it have a Hindu Diwali section, or no?
That'd be cool.
If it doesn't, if it's just like here's a Christmas story but no Diwali and Ramadan, then it's not secular enough. Okay. It's a Christmas story. Does it have a Christmas story, but does it show Christianity in a positive? Because I can't believe it would have a Christmas story and it's just like objectively analyzing Christmas. If it has a Christmas story, it's celebrating Christmas. Do you know what I mean? This is a pro-Christian class. Garbage, I tell you. Okay.
But, okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Let's ignore this Christian studies contention we have. Okay.
Fine.
For the time being. In general, I think all things being equal, like removing this dumb contention, this is something I support. Like having young girls wearing the veil in school is really upsetting, like to me personally. And so the whole idea is that they're trying to prevent girls from constantly living under social pressure from their parents. And there are people, a percentage of the commission that came up with these rules are Muslim or come from Muslim backgrounds. And they themselves say that there are few reasons that a girl would wear the hijab at this young of an age besides pressure from your family. And they have evidence for it. For example, the commission said a study from 2019, which the commission referred to, states that only 43% of the ethnic minority girls in the study are allowed to see male friends in their spare time, while the same is true for 88% of the ethnically Danish girls. So they're saying minority background girls are way less likely to be allowed to spend time with just boys their age. 13% of ethnic minority girls are afraid that their families will plan their future against their will, while the same is the case for 5% of the ethnic majority girls. One of the aims of the commission is to bring the recommendation on how to equalize the differences like these between Danes who are ethnic minorities and ethnic majorities. What do you think about that?
Okay, first of all, how dare you? My contention is not dumb, okay? And
no, I just don't want to get distracted from this greater topic at hand.
But let me tell you why they are connected, okay? Because I agree that hijab for children should not be allowed, okay? I agree with that. I agree also why hijab shouldn't be allowed, for example, for government jobs and stuff like that, okay? But it has to be done the right way. I often suspect that when people do stuff like this, it could be the intentions could be described in that way. And if that was truly their intentions, I would be supporting it. And because of the things you said, I would be supporting it exactly because of the things you said, right? But I just worry sometimes that they bring up these good reasons to say why they're doing something, but the actual intentions is to give into a voter base that is anti-immigrant, and they're just trying to make the country less welcoming to immigrants. So to me, the intention matters, even if you are right about the results, okay? And one way to look at whether those are the reasons you mentioned are the actual intentions is to look for consistency. Because if they are picking one negative effect over children over others and ignoring the others, to me, that's a red flag. So do you see why I think it's connected? Why I bring this? You're like, oh, it's just like distract us from that.
No, I completely understand.
Yeah. Right. And when you say like, oh, hijab is bad for children, here are the reasons. I'm like, yes, you're right. You shouldn't be able to do that to children. This is not, you can't do this. This shouldn't be allowed. Okay. And you're like, also, we're adding Christian class. We're promoting Christianity. Excuse me. Hold up a second. What the hell? I think maybe I'm now questioning why you're doing this. Okay. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think it's a major red flag. It is a major red flag.
I mean, this was pushed for by a socialist party, Armin.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just
feminists from the largest socialist party. So,
yeah, I mean, you still might be giving into a voter base that you might be like, hush, hush, what we're doing this, like, I mean, people might be frustrated with like changing demographics, and you might be appealing to that. You might be like, we could get votes for this. I don't know. I'm just asking questions. It's a red flag. I'm not coming up with any conclusions. I'm just wondering. Here, let's see what Trell has to say, since he's our Danish person here. Yeah.
Trell is saying, just so you know, the commission had several people from minority backgrounds on it, including a Kurdish member of parliament. Most of them signed on to this until the backlash. That's true. A lot of them like suddenly pulled out of this completely after there was like a little bit of backlash.
Okay, but if this is so what are we saying? Is it because it's Kurdish? Because Kurdish have a stereotype of being secular or even atheist, like more atheist,
well,
secular than. Yeah, but like if the stereotype is this, if Trell is saying with the understanding that, oh, we even have people from their own community agreeing with this, because if that's the case, the fact that they're Kurdish might actually be, she might be on our side. I mean, if you want like stereotypes, the Kurdish member might be more on our side than the Islamic side.
Here's a statement on it. Unfortunately, we still see honor-related social control in minority ethnic environments where very young girls do not have the same rights and opportunities to live a life that most of us take for granted. It is therefore important that we as a society drop the fear of touching on the subject and intervene early. That's a commendable approach, or a commendable sentiment.
Do you think like I'm wrong to have some concerns about this?
No, I mean, I share those concerns. You just seem like more willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater than me.
I am very much for not allowing hijab in elementary schools. Okay, I'm very much for that. I'll just be clear. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
So there you go. I'm just.
What do you think? So I saw a comment from Dee in the live chat, and Dee was saying that she doesn't support this because basically children will be taken out of school by fundamentalist traditionalist parents. And
you can't
so
do that in Denmark.
For the sake of girls getting educated, we should allow it so at least they can get educated and stir
okay,
up.
No, I don't. Okay, correct. Trell, I don't agree with Dee on this, because correct me if I'm wrong, Trell, in the live chat. You can't take your girls out of elementary school. You can't do that. It's forced. It's mandatory. So what are you going to do?
I know, so like in Germany, for example, the government will come after you if you try to take your kids out of school. Like they have much more of an ability to intervene in those situations than say in India. Like in India, my stance is different in terms of the hijab ban there, because the consequences of girls not getting educated in India is so much worse, and the government does not have the same ability to ensure that girls are getting a right to education and not being denied that on the basis of them not being allowed to wear hijab in the classroom, right? So because in principle, I'm completely against hijab in the classroom, but because of the consequences to Indian women in Indian society at large, that's why I make that exception, only because of the result of the consequences. But that not being a factor, then I'm completely on this side.
Yeah. Before you ban the hijab in elementary school, you have to make sure that you have the capability of making sure that no child can skip elementary school, right? So you don't want to you want to make sure that banning hijab in elementary school is not going to result from more girls not getting educated. You can only first you have to get to that level that we will not let one child left behind. Everybody's getting elementary school. Once you get to that level, then ban hijab in elementary school.
Yeah. Dee is also saying too many Muslim girls around the world miss out on an education. Exactly. And that's like what we care about the most, right?
Yeah. Yeah, if it's between banning the hijab or education, like which one is more priority? I think the education takes more priority, right? So
That's not even a question.
Yeah. So if any girls are going to lose education because of banning the hijab, then keep the hijab, right? But I think Denmark has passed that. I think Denmark is a country that is capable of making sure that you do not, that girls don't skip school. Yeah, I think that. Here. There we
Charles
go.
is saying the Danish constitution mandates educational duty, not necessarily in public schools, but parents need to show that their child is receiving schooling equivalent to public school. Okay. Otherwise, child services come in and that can get pretty draconian.
Good.
Well, thank you for appearing with us today to educate us about your country. I appreciate it because a lot of the stuff, like I said, is highly dependent on the context of the laws and how things are actually operating and what is enforceable. So it's important to think about these things.
Yeah. We got a super chat.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's highlight that super chat.
Oh, here. Vishwa is saying, hello, I'm curious to know how many people on average watch these streams live on Facebook. I couldn't know because we don't have FB page. Very little. Like, it's mostly just YouTube. Like, always less than 10. I don't even know why we go live on Facebook. Because Facebook, we have 2 million followers on YouTube and Facebook, and Facebook doesn't push it to anybody. So maybe we should stop going live on Facebook. What do you think?
Well, why not? I don't know. I think it's okay.
We respect a few people. No, people on Facebook, even though Facebook doesn't show us to
Casey
you guys.
watches us on Facebook. He's the best. You can't leave him out in the cold.
We're gonna keep going live on Facebook for the very few people that
Casey.
we get. Yes. We're gonna
love that guy.
Yeah. It's crazy how Facebook Live doesn't push us to all our followers.
Well, honestly, based on what I see from our side of things, it's hard to tell how many people are watching us live on Facebook, on the different platforms. Anyways.
Oh, here, just a little note. Do you want to read this one?
Charles is saying, just a note, Denmark has an actual state church mandated by Article 4 of our Constitution, so we are not legally secular, so you can see small pieces of Christianity here and there. Yeah, and I know that plays into part of it. And it gets very convoluted when it comes to what does it mean to be a Dane, given that we do have a state church, all this stuff. It's part of our culture, integration. It gets really messy.
Okay, can we clap for the next news?
Oh wait, so funny. Don't get rid of Twitch, please. I came here from YouTube to stay away from Hindutva.
Hey, Hindutva, go on Twitch. Follow us on Twitch.
No. Shakespeare's like, no.
Okay. All right. Bro. She's like, bro. All right. Can clap? Yes. Okay. Clap.
Next news. Atheist political power highlighted in election campaign. In honor of the 235th anniversary of the signing of the U.S. Constitution, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, or FFRF, launched a new national campaign called We're Atheists and We Vote on September 17th. The campaign aims to call attention to the growing political opinions of atheists in America and the urgent need to keep religion and its influence out of legislation, the judiciary, and public education. According to FFRF, the campaign aims to counter the growing and increasingly overt calls to Christian nationalism. It plans to set up billboards along the highways of swing states that feature photographs of non-religious residents and with slogans like, I'm an atheist and I vote. Full-page ads of atheists declaring that there are, quote, more than 75 million secular Americans who are not religious are planned to be published in the Washington Post and 44 other newspapers. The media blitz also informs politicians that the nones, those of us unaffiliated with religion, is now 29% of the U.S. population, which is the largest group by quote-unquote religious denomination.
This is great. Fantastic.
Yeah, I thought this was really good because we often talk about how atheists, we are a hugely growing portion, especially of the American populace. We are, like I said, technically the largest religious group by denomination, and we are not politically involved. And therefore, our voices aren't heard and our values are not reflected in what is being pushed for in the body politic.
Yeah.
And well, Armin, I know you're like really passionate about this. So what do you have to say about this?
No, yeah, a lot of atheists, I constantly remind people that atheism is winning the demographic battle and is losing the political battle. Like our percentages are growing, many countries, our numbers are growing in almost everywhere, and yet religious dominance is also growing in many different places, right? And one reason is atheists don't get politically active. And also they don't unite as institutions and organizations together. And one reason for that is because they're allergic to it. A lot of them think that that's a religious thing to do. Like, we constantly get accused of being too much like a religion because we have an atheist institution and we build atheist communities and we do atheist activism. And they're like, oh, you just started a new church. I left religion so I don't have to do this stuff. Oh, why didn't you just like, when you ask for donations, like, especially when Atheist Republic asks for donations, we're like, oh, this is just like another church. This is what I try to get away from. And like, what it's very weird because they are agreeing with religious people that for you to build communities, these atheists that are saying like, oh, you're too much like a religion or like a church, they're agreeing with religious people that religion has a monopoly over building communities or getting together and getting shit done or doing any form of political activism or doing any form of charity. So you're agreeing with them. And this is why we're losing politically, right? You're like, oh, as an atheist, I want to stay away from these things. And then you wonder why your rights are being taken away. Like if you're in the US, for example, you can see as a woman that how your rights are being taken away faster than a lot of feminists could have imagined because you became complacent. This is the dominance of religious influence in your politics is growing, and you thought that naturally, without effort, history is going to become more progressive and move in the right direction because you just thought that this is the natural way of things happening. You thought liberalism just grows with time. You're like, oh, things were bad before and getting better, so we don't need to do anything because it's going to just continue going that way. You failed to realize that these improvements were not just a function of time, they were a function of time and activism, especially political activism. So become political. Because if you don't become political, the religious people have no problem becoming more political than you. And all the rights that you have managed to gain in the past 100 or 200 years, they will slowly keep chipping at it away until you're left with none of them. And you're seeing that right now in effect everywhere. So become political and make sure that politicians know that use your demographics. Now, because we're winning the demographic battle. And that's the whole point of this billboard. I'm an atheist and I vote because now the only winning card that we have right now in our favor is that there's a lot of us. So the first way that you could get political is by showing the politicians that we could vote as a community about secular issues. So they have to come and appeal to us. They have to come and make us fair because the Muslims and the Christians, they play this game very well, especially because they can see that they're losing the demographic battle. So they have to play the political game very well. So even though they're becoming lower and lower in numbers, they work with each other. They are very good at working with each other, and they pass laws and they force the hands of the politicians to concede to them. We don't do that as atheists, and we need to. Okay, because here's the thing. Even though we're winning the demographic battle, if they continue winning the political battle, eventually they will turn the tides on the demographic battle as well. Because winning the political battle means that you will have control over the education system. And if you eventually get full control over the education system in any country that we're talking about globally right now, okay? The control over the education system means control over the future of our demographics. So don't think that the demographics, just because we're like winning in the past couple of years, is going to continue this way. They will brainwash your children and your children's children if they win politically, and you will lose this battle. It will. The trend can reverse. We always like a trend is a trend until it's not. Just because it seems to be going in one direction, you can't just predict the future by drawing a straight line. Like, oh, if we keep going this way, 50 years from now, we're going to be this way. Because trends can all of a sudden reverse. It's not. You can't make predictions like that out of it. If you are complacent, if you just think that things are going to go in this direction, they will take this away from you. Anyways.
So one thing that I thought would be really fun is in the show notes, you can see that I provided a link to FFRF's Twitter. And if you scroll through it, I thought it would be cute to just look at the different billboards that they have for a second. And because then what they did is once they made the billboards, they got pictures of the people who were featured in the billboards, like in front of their photos. And I don't know, just I thought it'd be cute to see some of the faces of this campaign, since this campaign was pushed across so many different states.
By the way, guys, please support Freedom from Religion Foundation and also support Atheist Republic. Link in the description. Wait, did you want me to show something? Sorry, I missed.
Yeah, I said in the show notes for this news, we can look at some of the. Yes, here we go. So it's not completely consistent, but if you scroll through, we can see some of the billboards.
Billboards. Oh yeah, this one. We are humanists and we vote. I prefer the atheist ones.
This is my favorite. Like, it's all the pictures of people in front of their own billboards. I think it's adorable.
Nice. I like it. This is such a good one. Yeah. I'm an atheist and I vote. That's really good.
So on their website, they actually like interviewed a lot of the people that they featured in these campaigns to talk about like why this is important to them. And their stories and how they want to be more politically engaged and what this means to their community and their state. And I don't know, I love this project and I think it's actually really important. So I have to really commend the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And like, look at this, I love it.
Yeah.
It talks about their background. Like, I'm an ICU nurse. I'm a teacher. I'm a student, and this is what I care about. And
wait, this guy is wearing the same outfit too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm an atheist. I like the atheist ones more than the humanist ones. I'm an atheist and I vote. This is a good one. Oh, look at this. These are great.
Yeah.
I need to retweet these. Oh, thank you for they highlighted this as well. Thank you for that.
Oh, Masamini, awesome. D is saying there are quite a few atheist groups in the U.S. that have been political and fighting in the courts for years, such as FFRF, American Atheists, and Citizens United for Separation of Church and State. Yes, they do excellent work. But like you said, a lot of it is about court cases and judicial proceedings, which of course is of the utmost importance because this is how we defend our secularism, right? But what D is saying, we need more PR. And this is exactly what this is. This is focusing on PR and it's speaking to elected officials and saying, look, we are a growing base of your constituency. And so you need to start considering what we desire when you are creating election campaigns, when you're creating your platforms. Do you reflect our values? Because you need to start pandering to us, basically. Come pander to us.
Yes, that's what the word I was looking for. I couldn't find it, but thank you. Pandering, yes. Also, we got a super chat saying, hi. Hi back.
Hi, Noman.
Hi.
Thank you
Hi,
for the
Noman.
40 rupee super chat.
Thank you. All right, can we clap for the next news?
Yes, we can.
All right, next news.
Next news. Twitter court documents reveal why Atheist Republic was suspended. So there's a couple things to talk about here. First of all, if you're not familiar, we have had a court case going forward in the Delhi High Court for a long time. I don't even remember how long now. maybe over almost a year. I don't know. We've been in front of the Delhi High Court for a long time now because the court proceedings are slow. And I can give the full background. Should I give the full background now?
A short version.
Okay, so basically there was a guy who was super butthurt about some little memes we had on our Atheist Republic page, and some of them were just things that were advertising a speech that I was giving, and in that advertising for the speech that I was giving, it had like sexy Kali kissing Sita, like, you know, in support of gay marriage in India. And there was so just like very baseline standard atheist memes, except they happen to like criticize or satirize Hinduism. That's it. And because of this,
let me clarify something. Somebody is reading this as Twitter court. No, it's not Twitter court. It's Twitter court documents. So we have court documents about our Twitter case. So just like clarify. But go on.
Yeah. So basically, this guy was trying to go after Twitter India itself as an entity, Twitter as an entity, the various ministries in India itself, and certain private citizens who are employees of Twitter, all because they allow this content to be on their platform. And they were demanding that it be removed, that the identities of the people who operate these accounts be exposed, and that our entire account be suspended. And this has been going on for some time. And we were finally made a party to the case because this was about us. Originally, we weren't included as a party. And so we had a court hearing recently on the 6th of September. And people were like, oh, you know, this was in the news. Actually, this was in news in many places in India. There were a lot of press outlets that were talking about this. But we waited to cover it until now because I needed to meet with our lawyers and discuss things and have some important meetings before I could come to you guys to talk about it. So basically what had happened was at our last proceedings, which happened in the end of March of this year, the High Court ruled against us, basically said that Twitter had to comply with an earlier affidavit and remove the content that they thought was so offensive. And but it was supposed to be specifically for those specific tweets, and they were supposed to only be removed from the Indian market. They were supposed to be viewable to other people. Now, a few days after that last court hearing, we were suspended from Twitter on April 1st, literally. And then our next court hearing was for September 6th. So a lot has changed in that time. And so at first, you know, Twitter did remove those tweets, and we could see that, and we received notice of that. And then we were fully suspended without explanation. And so we've been fighting for the past few months to, at the bottom line, get an explanation about why we were suspended, because we've asked many times through many different means, and we've received no answer. And so at the latest court proceedings, there was some argument back and forth with Twitter before the Delhi High Court about like why they hadn't enforced these things sooner, because Twitter was basically demanding an explanation about why they could preemptively take action against Trump, but they didn't preemptively take action against us. And so there's a whole legal argument about that. They say we have to have actual knowledge, all this stuff. I'm not really going to get into it because it's like
I just want to put things in context, okay? Just remember at this point that this is all about us posting art of Hindu goddesses, which has gotten the Delhi High Court, okay? This is our life. Can you believe this? Comparing us to Donald Trump, okay?
Not just any Donald Trump inciting an insurrection.
Yes. So I never thought in my life that the Delhi High Court, okay, will be comparing me and Susie because of pictures of Hindu goddesses that we posted on Twitter in a serious legal battle between us and this High Court in India. We've been compared to the President of the United States being the reason for an insurrection, a potential coup against the regime. This is how serious things are getting. They're like, oh, if they're talking to Twitter, one of the biggest there's a discussion between a government, the high court of a government, and one of the world's largest social media outlets about why they would take action against Trump like that, but not against us like that. And this is, I can't believe this is happening. Like, how is this happening? But anyways, go on.
That still amuses me so much. Satya has the funniest thing. Trump being compared to Atheist Republic. You guys have to give it to us. We have the most savage courts. So anyways, what happened in the most recent proceedings was some arguments from Twitter about, towards the court about why they took the previous actions or their lack thereof and stuff like that, which I'm not going to get into because it's more between them. In terms of what is relevant to us, I can tell you how we are going to proceed and what's moving forward. So there's some technical stuff about changes of parties in terms of who's redressed and who's a respondent. It's technical. I'm not going to get into it. But what's important to know is that Twitter is basically at the next hearing, which is happening on October 28th. Twitter is going to move for the matter to be seen as infractuous. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's a legal term. And the Atheist Republic legal team, we are also going to be moving for this this petition to be seen as infractuous, which basically means ineffectual, useless, irrelevant at this point. So why are we arguing this? The original petitioner is still trying to take action against us. Twitter literally argued in the replies that they submitted before the court that I read. They're like, Twitter references the fact that we have had FRIs filed against us in their court documents. In Twitter's responses, in Twitter's replies to the court, they're saying these people have had FIRs filed against them in Bangalore in 2020, all this stuff. Like they're basically arguing that people are already taking action against us for this, behavior, and that they have already complied with removing the tweets. The account altogether is already completely suspended, so there's nothing more for them to do. So at this point, the petition before the court is meaningless, it's useless, it's infractuous, it's irrelevant. Our lawyers are going to be basically saying the same thing. We are going to be saying, look, everything you've asked for has been fulfilled. There's nothing further to pursue at this point. And any issues we have remaining, we are going to take up with Twitter personally. We have nothing, there's nothing further for this matter to be pursued. So that's how we're going to handle this court case at the next hearing. Now, but that's how we're handling this court case. How are we handling our Twitter suspension? This brings me to the next part. So, in the documents that were submitted by Twitter before the Delhi High Court, it was finally revealed why they suspended us. We finally have some insight into why they suspended us. What policy did we violate that caused them to suspend the largest atheist account on the platform? Or atheist, community content related account. So the reason is that they submit, oh shoot, maybe I should pull it up on my other computer because I have the documents. Basically, they reveal that they suspended our account because of the ban evasion policy. So what that means is that there were other accounts that were banned, and then you're continuing to operate this account after you were banned on a different account. Therefore, you are trying to evade a suspension. This violates our policies. We're going to suspend this account you're now utilizing. Now, our argument is essentially that this is an incorrect enforcement of Twitter's ban evasion policy because they are treating me, Armin, and Atheist Republic as a single entity. But we are not a single entity. Atheist Republic is its own organization. It's an established 501c3. It's a nonprofit in Canada, and it is an organization. Armin and I are individuals. Our accounts were tweeted or operated by us as individuals. We represent Atheist Republic. Atheist Republic does not represent Armin and Susanna. Atheist Republic represents our global community. And the two of us just happen to have the privilege of being able to be the most public out of our community, right? We do not use the Atheist Republic account for our personal means. And therefore, we should not be treated as a singular entity. Not only that, but the Atheist Republic account existed way prior to, I don't know about you, but my personal account was started in 2020. The Atheist Republic account was started in 2011. You know, so saying that we're operating this account to do ban evasion, it's not like the Atheist Republic account was set up after we were personally banned and then we're using that to get around things. This was existing prior to that. I can't make a statement regarding your account, Armin, because I can't remember the date of when your account was created. But I know that the main Atheist Republic account was created almost 10 years before I ever had a Twitter. And so to that end, we are again seeking legal redress to the best of our ability, and we're looking into a variety of ways that we can do that. But this is going to increase our legal expenses greatly. And so we do have a GoFundMe to help. Yay, thank you for pulling it up. Help with our legal expenses. It's on GoFundMe. You can say it's titled Help Us Fight Hindufa. And basically help us fight this harassment, judicial harassment, attempts to take us down everywhere we are purely because we have the balls to satirize Hinduism, to criticize Hindu nationalism, and to combat these forces that want dissidents, dissenters, to be silenced, gone. And so once we have more information that we can bring to you about what kind of methods we're taking to address the situation, I will definitely come to the community and give more information. But as is the case with legal things, you know, we have a lot of stuff going on in the background that we can't immediately come forward and tell you guys about. But I wanted to give you this really important update about our case.
By the way, all the things that Susanna has done with our lawyers is because of these donations, right? So this was supposed to be them just coming out and intimidating us and shutting us down, and it would be case closed and move on. But because you people have donated, Susanna has managed to use all this money to pay some lawyers to keep this going, right? And as much as it's, you know, it's bad that we lost our Twitter account, the fact that I think it's good that we are not just taking it. You know, it's just good that we can show ways, like even if whether we're successful or not, we want to create a roadmap for maybe other people who are being mistreated like this to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And maybe we could use this as a resource for other people as well. Like once we come out of the other end, we could we could do this form of activism for secularism in India as a whole. You know, like we would. I don't know if I want to mention in detail, but there are so many other things that we want to pick up. I don't know if what I can say, Susanna, or not, but we would like to, at some point for Atheist Republic to grow, to do this thing for other people, right? Like, if so I'm not going to go into detail because I don't know if I should, right? But I will talk to Susanna and see what I can say, right? But anyways, this is because Atheist Republic is supposed to do this type of political activism. If we go what FIFRF is doing for the United States, we would like to do that for places like in India at some point, with the help of people, atheists in India who are joining our organization. If our organization one day grows enough, right? We want to we want to use our resources to do legal not just like shows and raising awareness, legal activism for secularism in India. So this, as big of a price that we have paid, which is a Twitter account, this might be because every time we lose something, we gain something even bigger, right? And I'm hoping that this eventually would lead to us learning how to do this in India and opens the door for us to become more legally involved in India, right? So if you want to help us continue this fight, again, because this fight is going to continue, I think, in the United States now, right?
That's where we would have a better chance.
Right.
Definitely.
So this legal fight started in India, and now it's moving to United States because now we're moving towards Twitter. So the legal costs might pick up because that's going to be a lot more expensive. So we do.
Yeah.
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 So we need your help right now to make sure that we continue fighting this battle. Right. By the way, this is not just reported by Atheist Republic. Like a couple of news outlets reported on this. So this is a big deal. So do we have?
I was like, oh my God, we're in Bar and Bench, we're in Live Law, we're in the Hindustan Times. Look at us.
Can you show? Yeah, like guys, this is. Do you have some of these updates? Wait,
yes, give me 30 seconds.
Wait, is this one of them?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, let me remove this highlighted. So guys, like this is like I showed this to you on Atheist Republic, right? But we're making this news being covered in many places. Like this is a newsworthy event. So Atheist Republic is constantly making trying to understand highlighting the legal lines in India when it comes to social media, blasphemy, all of this, and we are part of drawing these lines and pushing for them to move, right? So we're being covered. Our legal battle is not something that we're just like paying attention to, right? It's being over the past year, every single update is being reported on many different news outlets in India itself, right? So this is setting a precedent. This is making a difference. So if we manage to eventually get somewhere, if this legal battle continues and we have any success at all with it, it's a really good reference for us to have under our belt. And it also adds a lot of credibility to Atheist Republic as an organization that is that is involved in legal battles for the sake of secularism in India, right? So having this in our resume gives us a lot of credibility for eventually a Atheist Republic to grow, to be like, this was our history, and if we eventually get to a place where we could go do other legal activism, we come with something with experience under our belt, right? So if that's where your donation money will go to, if you help us with this, right? What other outlets covered this new update?
Bar and Bench and Live Law, which are basically the largest outlets for legal coverage.
Yeah.
They're like always in the court, literally tweeting out what people are saying as they're saying it.
Such is saying, I want you guys to get back your account, but after that, Twitter's ass should be hit for good. Yeah, I mean, it's not just about, I don't know what that means, but it's not just, I just want to say, it's not just about our account, okay? This is about us understanding, like us pushing back, any form of pushing back, okay? I mean, guys, it is ridiculous, right? That the government can push a social media outlet that is based in the United States to do something like this based on pictures of gods and goddesses, right? Like, it's good for India if things like this are not possible. It is, I don't know how, but it is kind of ridiculous that this is where we are at, right? It is better for India for this not to be allowed. For any pushback against this to succeed is better for India. So even if we fail, if more people push back, it's not as easy to do. It will make it difficult. It will make it costly to do stuff like this. We want there to be at least a cost to pay if you're doing something like this, right? Anyways, I don't know. Is that fair, Susanna?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, so link in the description. Please donate to our legal fund. Susanna has been doing such amazing work behind the scenes. You have no idea, okay? Susanna has become an Indian politics expert, a journalist, and now she's becoming a legal expert.
Okay, don't push.
No, like, I don't, like, you have no idea how much work it goes behind this. Like, when you're donating, this money is not just being spent on lawyers. It's also a lot of hours that Susanna she's taking your money and adding a lot of work and research and hours.
Well, I
talking,
invested into our
having-
team.
Yeah. Yeah. So your money is not going to be wasted. So that's why. Yeah. So Satya, guys, look, we have Hindutva in the live chat agreeing with me about how ridiculous this is. Okay. So when we say we're fighting Hindutva, not all Hindutva. Okay. Satya is a resident Hindutva who is usually agrees with us on how ridiculous some of these are.
You also do a lot of hard work, Armin. Like, I want to give you appreciation for that.
No, thank you.
You do work really hard. A lot of people don't see it. A lot of people are like, oh, Armin just shows up. Susanna does everything. Like, that's not true. Armin runs like 3 different channels. Like, you're so hands-on with the Persian community. Like, yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. All right,
You
guys,
also,
thank you. Yeah.
Armin's most important job is helping Susanna when I have mental breakdowns every other day.
It's my most important job.
And possibly the weightiest.
Oh,
So,
wait.
He needs a lot of recognition and appreciation for putting me back together all the time.
Wow, look at what's that to say.
The
Armin,
disrespect.
yeah. Okay, wait. Oxymoron is going to get upset that we called Satya our resident Hindutva. Okay. Mercy. All right, guys, we're going to go. Make sure you like and subscribe. Please, please, please. People who can't donate, it's okay. It's okay. We forgive you just this once. You can support us by liking and subscribing and hitting the bell notification and leaving a comment, okay? Only if you do all of that, we will forgive you for not donating to our legal fund, okay? But that's the only way.
Oh
So
my
make
God.
sure make sure you like and subscribe and do all of those things. That actually helps us grow, okay? All right, guys.
And
Love you
please don't
guys.
forget to tweet, post, whatever, talk to people in support of Iran right
Yes.
now. That's
Yes,
like the
yes.
main message I want to give this week.
Just this once. Just this once, yes. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.